All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Fanwood Planning Board for May 28th. The regular meeting of the Planning Board is scheduled by the time, place, and date of the meeting prominently posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, mailed to the Hawk, Oral Media, the Courier, filed with the Borough Clerk, and mailed to any person requesting same in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act is called to order. And we'll just note for the record that we do have a video recording in the back. So first of all, is everyone here? Yeah, we'll,
Mayor Mahr? Here. Ms. Hamill, Ms. Hunspeth, Councilman Carter, Mr. Pierce,
Present.
Mr. Jukes, Mr. Guzzo,
Here.
Mr. Brennan,
Here.
Mr. Natty,
Here.
Mr. Martyr,
here.
Ms. Chelnick, here, Mr. Ozicki,
Here.
Mr. Birch,
Here.
Mr. Dabulas, here, Mr. Sullivan,
Present.
Mr. Panagopoulos,
Present.
Mr. Cotroneo.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. So everybody here, welcome. We don't often have a full room, so it's nice to see many new faces. It's your first time at the planning board, welcome. If you're a returning member, thank you for coming back. It's good to have so much civic engagement, and we like to see people here and active and voice their views as we move our town forward. So thank you for your participation. We do have agendas out, but there are a few changes on the agenda, so let's cover those now. We'll first be doing a resolution from prior week, and then we will have a brief discussion on the affordable housing fourth round update. I think will be a good lead into our discussion of new business today, and have a couple of certificates to present our board members. So overall, just providing a few bits of guardrails and guidelines for today's meeting. As we have new business, we'll first have the applicant testimony presented. We'll go through the full plan overall, and then we'll have each individual professional come up and give testimony. So that's going to be, for example, an architect, engineer, traffic engineer, and whatnot. We'll open it up to the public at the conclusion of each testimony, make sure that people have adequate time to ask all the specific questions that they have of those professionals. We do just ask that for each round of questions, that those questions are specific to the professional that just gave testimony. And if there will be a 5-minute limit to those questions. If you start to give general comments or questions that are not specific, we will advise you bring your questions back into the subject matter. So we'll go through those several rounds of questions, along with board member questions, and then at the end there will be time for everybody to come back up to the podium and give their comments on the overall application. Any comments from the board before we get started? All right. So first of all, we do have a couple of certificates that I'd like to present to members of the board for completing the basic course in land use, law, and planning. First, Tom Rosicki.
You guys
Robert Brennan. And that complete, we move on to resolutions. We will complete the resolution for block 40, lot 9, full variance for 18 Estelle Lane. So, motion to be had.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Ozicki?
Yes.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Martyr?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Guzzo?
Yes.
Ms. Chelnick?
Yes.
Mr. Birch?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we'll be completing a brief discussion on the affordable housing fourth round update and benefit of the board and the public.
Thank you, Chairman. So what I'm doing is basically just updating you about the next steps for the fourth round obligation, which does require action by the planning board. It's not really a discussion, because we're not engaging in like an executive session or anything like that. I just want to give you an update and remind you of where we are as well as the public. So as everyone I'm sure knows, there is a state mandated constitutional obligation for all municipalities in New Jersey of a requirement to build affordable housing. And the state, back in January, imposed a fourth round affordable housing obligation on Fanwood, along with all the other municipalities in the state, and we received a number of 109 units. We complied with all the deadlines of passing a resolution and filing a complaint spirit report. So we have what's called immunity against any builder's remedies or any lawsuits saying that we're not in compliance. The next step is for our planner to prepare a housing element and fair share plan, which is part of the master plan, and it must be approved by the planning board, and then it's endorsed by the council, and then it's filed with the court. That will have to happen by June 3rd. So that's why I'm just giving you a little reminder about what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. So what is the housing element? It's part of the master plan, and it's required to contain information regarding the borough's demographics, its employment, its housing stock, the income of its residents, and it also contains a summary of our previous housing obligation, the first, second, third rounds, all of which we still have to comply with, as well as the fourth round. And the fourth round starts 2025 to 2035, and our most recent round, the third round, which was the most, the highest, if you will, that was 2015 to 2025. However, that obligation is still continuing, and I'll show you and give you a little numbers. So this housing element will talk about what we did to try to satisfy that third round. One of the items that we did was a compliance mechanism, and was to adopt this overlay zone district along South Ave. We were required to do that as part of the settlement agreement that we had with Fair Share, which, again, all the municipalities in the state did very similar things. So we created this commercial corridor along the entirety of South Avenue, the CCW, so Commercial Corridor West, Commercial Corridor Center, and Commercial Corridor East zone districts. And that was to help us satisfy our third round obligation, which was 218, and it's minus this realistic development potential, and it is 182 unmet need. So we still have 182, and we haven't even gotten to the program. The overlay zone permits the development of these new mixed-use buildings with residential development, but the developer has to include 15% of the units as affordable if it's a rental project, and 20% of the property if it's for sale. There's other bulk requirements, including height, parking, coverage, things like that. We also had developments that we earmarked for this third round obligation, and those have been completed. The Fanwood Crossing Building, Station Square, and downtown redevelopment area. So for the fourth round of this state mandated constitutional obligation, we have a requirement of 109 units. And in this housing element, we have to figure out how to satisfy 25% of that number, which is 28 units. Now, how we're going to satisfy that is still being worked out. The planner is going to prepare that, and obviously is in the works of planning that. And over the next couple of weeks, you'll get a draft of that, and then at one of the meetings in June, you will consider that housing element. This is an aggressive time frame, and without failure to comply with these deadlines really isn't an option. If we do that, we're not in conformity with the state regulations, and we lose our immunity. have questions, you'll hold on to them. It really is meant to be informative for you guys to realize your next steps and that you have a role in this very large obligations that we have and that we will continue to have, as well as all the other municipalities.
Diane, I'm just gonna, just a point of clarity here, just for the public and for the board. Not every town has an affordable obligation. In New Jersey, they exempt urban aid towns. So when they look at affordable housing and they come up with what the state number is, when they calculate the state needs, they then split the state into sections. We are in a section, regions, we are in a region that is, I think it's Union County, Essex County, Morris, and I think there's Warren County. And what's exempt from those numbers are any municipality that they consider takes urban aid. But the whole number doesn't necessarily change. So they basically realign the apportionment of the need into the regions, and then they hand down, they split the regions, and they bring it down. So that's how we get the 109 number that we got at the beginning of the year for the fourth round. And I think it's important to share that because I think that there was a lot of conversation about affordable housing, what it is, what it's not, but what it is that it's not a choice for us in the borough as the governing officials to not do this and to not have a clear plan, which has to be sent to the courts, and then we are mandated and obliged to follow that really over the last like 30, 35 years. And so we are finishing this one round from 2015 to 2025, which is considered the third round, which this application falls in. And then we have a fourth round, which starts in 2025 for the next 10 years. And, you know, that's just the next 10 years for us. And so I share that because in one sense, I'm glad that we have such a full house, so that you can hear from us exactly that piece, and we can always have other conversations outside of this evening. So thank you for that.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. And that brings up there was there was a report by our planner, and there's a slide
We did have
slide presentation
did a
that
public
is
hearing.
right on the website. I think it's from October, and that was that's very informative as to the specific allocation of how the number is created and how it's distributed. So it's very helpful.
And that's up on the website.
That is on the website. Yep. Okay.
Before you move on, we do have 2 extra chairs. I know it's very little, but if anyone wants one.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
I think we are ready for new business.
all right. So new business tonight, we do have an application before the board for block 69, lot 5, 383 South Avenue, a home improvement. It's a new application. Have letters from our different commissions to first of all, we have the Environmental Commission. They sent a letter in with multiple subjects, specifically speaking about landscaping and rain garden plans to be addressed, sanitation, parking concerns, electrical charging spaces, parking space size, parking conflicts, and I assume the applicant will be addressing these during testimony. Now we will address those individually. A letter from the rescue squad to make sure that the front ramp of the sidewalk has adequate parking area around so that stretchers can easily enter the building and that the stretchers can fit into the elevators per legal guidelines. From the police department, they defer to the rescue squad and fire department, just additionally requesting access to security cameras for investigative purposes. I have a letter from the construction official with no objection. Historic Preservation Commission has no objection. And the Shade Tree Commission recommends more diversity in the tree selection. May I have a motion to read these letters into the record?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved. Welcome.
Great.
This for
Great.
the legal.
Can't hear.
Oh, we're gonna be
That's okay, yeah. Ray and Antonio, I think we were ready this morning at the beginning, and it sort of carries on.
Yeah.
But Justin, you want me to do, so if you could just raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all again, and I appreciate your time and consideration this evening, and also thank the public for being out and the board professionals. Stephen Hale, representing the applicant NP Homes Improvement LLC, and we are here, and it's on the agenda, seeking a preliminary and final site plan for this project. This property, and it kind of flows into what Councilor Dabulas was indicating, this property is in the borough's commercial corridor east zone, CCE zone, which permits the proposed residential use, the multi-family use. And this was zoned back to the mayor's comment also back in 2016 as part of the third round obligation, helping to satisfy the municipality's affordable housing requirements. We began this hearing in October of 2024, and this is where feedback from the board, feedback from the board professionals, and also feedback from the public assists in making, frankly, a better project. And I commend both the board professionals, and members of the public for that feedback. And I just want to provide a brief overview. We are essentially going to start the case over. We're going to have all of our professionals talk about the new plans. In essence, start out, but I will be in just for the benefit of everyone, a brief explanation as to the change that we made for the record. So therefore, members that may not have been on the board or present at the October 23rd to 24 meeting,
Doesn't matter.
That
Right.
will not matter.
Right.
So let me just give a little brief overview. Again, property 383 South Avenue, block 69, lot 5, and it's where the abandoned vacant restaurant is at this time. Our original proposal was 19 units, and there was concern raised about parking and other items with the site, and there were also, at the time, we were seeking certain relief variances, if you will, from the requirements of that zone. Since that time, we've worked with your professionals, and the plans have been revised, and now it is fully compliant with the Fanwood ordinances. So there's no variances being sought in connection with this application, including setbacks, height, glazing, parking, and the like. So it's fully compliant. And what's happened here is it's been reduced from 19 units to 16 units. An additional affordable unit that came from your PND planners was added to conform and meet the affordable housing requirements. The building layout has also been revised. The driveway ingress and egress has been relocated in response to comments from, again, board professionals. The layout of the parking area, the number of parking spaces, parking dimensions, and aisle width have also been revised to make them fully compliant. The minimum ground floor story, upper story heights have been revised to conform, again, with the ordinance. The spacing of the shade trees have been revised to comply with the ordinance. The materials and colors have been revised to conform with the commercial corridors requirements. And the glazing transparency, which originally we were seeking a variance for, that also has been revised, and that's reflected in the architectural plans that were submitted. So again, no variance being sought. We do have your planners reports from T&M dated 5/12, the engineering from 5/19, fire from 5/27, and the various other reports that Mr. Chairman have indicated are made part of the record. Yes, we will be prepared to address all of those. So, again, I'd like to thank the board, board professionals, board staff, and public for hearing us this evening. And I think that, again, Councilor Dabulas did a great job explaining the obligations of the municipalities, in this case, Fanwood, with complying with not only third round, which is what's before you in this application, but pretty burden of now dealing with the fourth round. So that's a brief overview of what we're here for this evening. What I'd like to do first is call upon our site engineer, Kristen Cueto from Harbor Consultants, and he will take us through existing conditions and then what's proposed by way of improvements, and then from an engineering standpoint, address any comments from your professionals and the departments that have been raised. So,
Mr. Hill, can I just ask, after the engineer, are you doing architect, traffic, and then planner?
actually, we were going to do engineering, then traffic, exact details
Okay.
into the engineering, then architecture.
When do we get a speak?
So, this is-
State your name and address for the record.
Christian Cueto, last name Cueto. My work address is Harbor Consultants, 320 North Avenue East, Cranford.
And Mr. Cueto, if you could please give the board and public the benefit of your work, educational experience, licenses you hold, and whether you've been accepted as a professional engineer before the boards or courts of the state of New Jersey.
Of course, I am a graduate of NJIT with a degree in civil engineering. I have 17 years of engineering experience. I am a licensed civil engineer with my license in good standing. I've been before this board as well as multiple boards in Union County, and I sit as the board engineer for the borough. And I was here last,
Thank you. Do motion to accept the witness. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so, Mr. Cueto, obviously you're well familiar with this project and the application. If you could take us through, first of all, overview of existing conditions, and then we can move on to what's proposed by way of improvements and to address departmental comments. And just provide some, let's see, I'll sit down and let you explain that.
sure. Let me, do I have to put this into, this has not been submitted to the board. This is just a colored rendering.
Please,
Yes.
Exhibit A.
So documents that are part of the plan submitted to the board, it's going to be marked, and everything that wasn't would be marked with today's date. And then exhibit number 7 would be A1.
It looks really nice.
Can we see it?
We have a request if we could just send it around so they can see.
Probably not like that.
So just as a general rule, and obviously that's fine, you need to see it, you need to see it. Annie, what we can't have during the testimony and the presentation, as well as like when you come up, you're not gonna wanna have other people just talking randomly, and you're all doing a terrific job to be quiet, so I appreciate it, but I just felt the need to remind us. Thank you. All right.
Okay, we're going to go over the existing conditions first. Again, the site is block 69, lot 5, located at 383 South Avenue. The site has frontages along South and Old South Avenue. Old South Avenue is a two-way residential street with no striping, about 30 feet in width. South Avenue, also known as Route 28, is a New Jersey State highway with a two-way street with a shoulder on either side, approximately 40 feet. The site is located again in the commercial corridor eastern zone. The surrounding area for the site is primarily residential uses. The existing vacant site, it was previously a restaurant with an asphalt parking area with driveway access off of Old South Avenue and South Avenue. The site is located within 500 feet of a bus stop, as well as 2,000 feet with the Fanwood train station. I'm gonna turn to our site plan now to show, the layout information.
You can please just, for each exhibit, make sure that's out of public and you see.
I'm gonna show what it is.
Just when we refer to a page, just refer to the page number and the date of that plan.
So that is the site plan that's been provided as
Sheet.
part of the documents sheet
3.
3. Thank you.
The applicant is proposing to construct a 3-story residential building consisting of 16 units. On the first floor will be the parking. The second and third floor will consist of 16 residential units. I will defer to the architect to do the breakdown, but essentially, it will be 2 3-bedrooms, 12 2-bedrooms, and 2 1-bedrooms. The affordable housing for this project, we will be providing 3 units as required by the ordinance. In regards to the bulk requirements, just to put this on the record, again, we meet all bulk requirements for this zone. We are not requesting any variances. The parking requirement for this site is approximately 1.5 spaces per unit, equaling 24 units. The gross first floor parking will consist of 24 parking spaces. This will include 2 ADA spaces, one of which will be an EV space, and 3 additional EV spaces, with one of those spaces, again, with one of those spaces being ADA, for a total of 4 EV spaces. Because of the EV spaces, we get credit of 2 spaces, which would make the total requirement for parking for the site 22 spaces, and again, we are proposing 24 spaces. The site, we are also proposing 16 bicycle racks as required for this site. The applicant is going to remove the 2 access driveways for the existing site along South Avenue and Old South Avenue, and construct a new 24-foot wide access driveway onto the site off of Old South Avenue. The driveway will lead into a 20-foot wide parking aisle with parking on both sides. Pedestrian access into the building will be via 2 entrances off of South Avenue, as well as stairwell access off of Old South and stairwell near the parking area. Additional site improvements will call for the replacement of the curbing along South and Old South Avenue, as well as the installation of concrete sidewalk to be placed along the entire frontage of the site. We are not providing any loading zones for this project. Deliveries moving in and out will be done curbside along South Avenue. We are also not providing any signs. The only thing that we're providing are street number identification for the site. I am now going to turn to the grading and drainage sheet. That will be sheet 4.
Before you move, will we later hear kind of the flow of traffic within the parking corridor? I think that's by
The traffic engineer will address that.
And what page is that?
This is sheet 4.
Thank you.
The applicant is proposing approximately 11,167 square foot building. The overall impervious coverage is approximately 13,028 square feet, which is an increase of 6,248 square feet over existing. The entirety of the roof area will be drained to the proposed drainage system that is located adjacent to Old South Avenue near the existing inlet near the intersection. The rest of the site outside of the building envelope will drain towards South Avenue and Old South Avenue, except for a small 300 square foot area near the refuge area that will drain into the site along a drain that's along the parking area. The rest of the parking area has been graded to drain towards a perforated pipe along the middle parking area. This will be pumped out to the proposed inlet that's along South Avenue that will drain into the existing system. The site is less than an acre of disturbance and less than quarter of an acre of an additional impervious. Thus, this is not considered a major development by the DEP. The applicant is proposing a 30-inch HDPE detention system. Runoff from the roof area will discharge into the system. The system will be perforated to drain water into the soil for recharge. In case of overflow, additional runoff will drain towards the existing storm sewer that's located along South Avenue. We upgraded the existing storm sewer pipe going across South Avenue. The detention system has been designed to reduce the runoff as compared to the pre-development flow. And the smaller pipe that's located in the parking area is to handle any runoff from the vehicles, which will then percolate into the ground. No runoff from outside the building will except for the small refuge area into this area. And again, a pump has been added to discharge any excess runoff into the existing storm sewer along South Ave. For utilities, the applicant proposes to connect all proposed utilities, including sanitary, water, gas, cable, electric along Old South Avenue, and will coordinate with all the various utility companies. For landscaping, I'm going to turn to that page now, that's sheet 5.
Can I please ask a question?
Sure.
Just for clarification, you provided a series of numbers. Can you tell us what the existing conditions and impervious coverage is for the all improvements and what the proposed is?
Sure.
If you could please clarify that.
Sure. The existing impervious coverage is 6,780 square feet for existing.
Okay, which equals what percent?
About 36.35%.
36.35%. And the proposed?
13,028, and that's 69.9%.
69.9?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Landscaping and lighting. The applicant is proposing an extensive landscaping plan with various buffering along lot 6, as well as shade trees along Old South and South Avenue every 50 feet. Shrubs and other ground cover is also proposed around the perimeter of the site. The applicant is proposing lighting for the parking area, as well as some light fixtures along the exterior of the building, along the driveway, and along where the people enter the building. I believe that's it in terms of site improvements. If you would like, I can go over the engineer's letter and address some of his concerns. In terms of, the applicant has no issues doing a percolation test for not just a storm sewer, but I believe also in the environmental commission's report, they wanted to, they had some concerns about some of the landscaping that we're providing that needs to be well-drained soils, so we could do multiple soil logs for those areas.
Would you mind explaining the percolation test really kind of?
Oh, Sure. Percolation test basically is, in terms of drainage, how quickly the soil absorbs the water or is able to infiltrate into the ground. The higher the rate, the quicker the water goes in. There was another comment for the sump pump. We can add a detail, and it will be a battery backup for that. In terms of a transformer, the applicant has not met with PSE&G, so we don't know what they're going to require for the system. But we're going to work with PSE&G as well, and we will include the town in any discussions for any transformer if it's required. Generator, we are proposing a generator, but I'm going to defer that to the architect, because he will discuss that in terms of the building layout.
You said yes? You are proposing a generator?
Yes.
Okay.
The 3.9, I guess, no loading, the loading and move-in procedures will be done curbside. There is a, along also South Avenue, along South Avenue, there is a ADA access into the building to the elevator for any parking, any moving in of tenants. 3:15, we will submit a NJ DOT application.
Could you just talk a little bit more of what the application is for?
Oh, it will be basically just be for a driveway closure, because we are closing the driveway on there, and they always like it when you close driveways on their roads. The parking, I know there was a discrepancy in our parking schedule, we will revise that to match the architect's findings. For curbing along the site, the owner's okay with change that to Belgian block curb, and we will pave curb to curb along Old South Avenue. We can also provide additional lighting along South Avenue and Old South Avenue, particularly around the sidewalk. We can also incorporate more native plantings in the site, and we can add a rain garden there. We just have to, I'll work with the town's professionals in that. And we can relocate the street trees between, because right now they're on the other side of the sidewalk, and we'll move it between the sidewalk and the curb. We presently haven't had any discussions with the DOT, but that will be one of the next steps if this application is approved. In case of security, I defer that to the owner applicant. For trash, it will be 1 or twice a week, depending on the need. And yes, recycling will also be once a week. Staff will bring the owner's representatives will bring the refuse to the curb and return it to the refuse room after pickup. For parking, 6.4, parking will be assigned, and at the time, depending on how many people need an EV car, they will switch out to one of the empty spots, depending on what's available. 6.5, the rescue squad is requesting a front ramp flush with sidewalk, and we have no issues providing that. But in regards to no parking along South Avenue, that is the jurisdiction of DOT. We can request, but obviously they can. That's up to them. And is there any other? I'm not sure if there's any other questions that, for the based on the engineer's studies.
I have one question.
So for the parking fee, so you're saying they are designated for each unit,
Yeah, there is a
and one per unit, or where will the extra, I guess, 8 parking spaces, were those for visitors?
with 16, I mean, I can defer to the owner, but I'm going to at least one. Since there's 16 units, everyone will get at least 3. And depending on the need, they might get a second space, or the rest would just all be visitors.
Okay. And can you walk the board through how the trash is going to be, like the trash management plan, how it's going to be rolled out? Is it going to be on the street? I know you mentioned once to twice a week,
Yeah.
but there's 36 individual cans. Is that what was shown in the architectural plan? Is it individual cans for each unit? Is it a big dumpster in there?
Well, I believe there's several containers inside the refuse area. I'll defer to the architect on that in terms of how many, but in terms of being brought out, they will be brought out along
He didn't answer your question.
this sidewalk to the curb line.
And then they'll just be put on the individual cans will be put on the curb?
Yes.
Okay, but the architect knows how many
No, that's
cans
not what
they'll
he
be at
says.
one time?
Yeah.
And it'll be picked up by like a regular
Park,
hauler?
park, park, park.
I do have a question for, I guess, the architect, just the material of the trash enclosure shown over there, that's front here on South Ave. I know you mentioned loading, like move in, move out to be done on street, right?
On street and coordinated with building management.
Okay,
They will just like show up, they'll coordinate.
okay. And then, I guess the same scenario for deliveries like Amazon or DoorDash?
Yeah, presently there is parking allowed on South Avenue, so anyone who's making deliveries will do it all, also set.
The garbage isn't clear. The garbage isn't clear.
The bicycle rack and that storage area there, so they'll take their bike and they'll come through the garage and then walk it out to the frontage along South Ave. Now, is it possible to get a construction detail of the bike rack?
Yes.
One discrepancy that I saw on the architectural set and the civil set was the EV. On the architectural set, there was 2 EV spaces within the ADA spaces, but then you're only saying that one's gonna be.
Only one's gonna be, only one of the ADA spaces can be EV, and then 3 next to it will be EVs.
Okay.
And the architect will provide.
Okay. And will those EV spaces be signed?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, let's do that. For landscaping, can you explain to the board the tree replacement on site?
You mean in terms of,
Like what trees were removed, how they're being replaced, I guess the quantity of the replacement?
I believe there are 8 trees that are to be removed, to be replaced, and we are proposing, about 45.
Okay, and 12 of those are those red maple trees along the, both frontages?
I know again, the commission has some questions about, species, but we are amenable to changing the species as requested.
Okay. And I'll let the board chime in here, but I think what we'd like to see is a shade tree, sort of at the front corner of the property, like a larger tree right in that corner area. Is that a possibility?
I would have to check into that because I was also hoping to put the rain garden there. So it's, I'm willing to work with the professionals to try to come up with a way that we could do both the rain garden and a tree there.
I think the intention is to make this your visual one, because that's, you're driving up the street, that's the first thing you're gonna see. You want a nice decorative flowering tree or something.
Okay.
And the rain garden, you know, it's a little bit more difficult to.
Well, because we put the tree right here at the corner, and that'll be like a big flowering one right here. I mean, aside, just make sure it's not in the sight, or something along the lines of people.
I think that's something we should work on, yeah. Are you finished? I'll go do it. Can you please explain the tree replacement again? You're removing 8 trees and planting 45 trees, or is it 45 different
Different species
of vegetation?
No, well, some of them are like arborvitaes, which are, I mean, they look like shrubs, but they're considered trees. And that's usually around, that's what is mainly around the buffer plots.
The reason why I'm bringing up the landscaping is because this parcel experiences the tree replacement requirements under another applicant. And I know Mr. Hale was involved in that. I just want to make sure that the trees that were promised during that resolution are incorporated into this.
I think we can certainly comply with the number. At that time, the building wasn't proposed, so yeah,
Correct.
we'll make sure we comply with that.
But that was a condition of resolution a couple of years ago, was that tree requirement. There were 3 levels. There was the row of vegetation to protect the barrier, there was barrier trees, there was a payment in lieu of contribution, and then there was a promise of a row of trees. It appears that the red maples may satisfy that, but I just need that clarified for the record.
No problem.
Yes, thank you.
So you, thank you that you'll be doing the percolation testing.
Yes.
That's gonna be helpful with making sure the sizing of the storm sewer system is adequate, right?
Yes. As well as throughout the landscaping as well.
Yeah, that's, I think, more of a, allowing the roots to grow the way they need to grow.
We're also willing to do another 2 year.
Well, that's gonna be part of your maintenance bond anyway, so that'll be part of it. One of the comments from the fire department were regarding a new hydrant.
We have no issues.
Okay, all right, so I recommend that should this be approved, that you need to work with the fire department to get, the location that makes sense.
Yes.
I think their notes said 50 feet from the, Simon's connection. So whatever they want, I don't.
No, I know they also want, obviously, a connection at the building.
Yes.
And a non-spot as well, and we'll comply with all those.
Okay.
One additional question. So you're proposing a 6-foot tall fence along the property line adjacent to lot 6?
Yes,
Okay. And that's just a typical wooden board-on-board fence?
that's right.
Now, there's a requirement in the ordinance for fence articulation. So I know this is a 177-foot-long fence along the whole entire property line?
Yes.
So the requirement states no wall or fence may extend continuously for more than 50 feet without articulation. Articulation may include decorative columns, changes in material or texture, offsets, landscape pockets, or similar features. Now, will the applicant be willing to comply with that standard?
That's every, what's the maximum length for any articulation?
It says 50 feet.
So that's, what is that, like a column you said?
Yeah, decorative column or a change in the material or something to break up the articulation of the fence along that property line.
So you mentioned about the no loading zone, and I didn't, you were talking a little bit quickly. Did you say Old South Avenue or South Avenue?
No, South Ave.
South Avenue, okay. And that is a busy street. I'd feel more comfortable if the moving was inside the building so that there's no traffic issues.
I worry about the, I know.
But the height is the issue, right?
Yes.
And I understand that. So I just something to think about. You know, and is the applicant or is the owner, going to be blocking off spaces when they know people are coming? How is that gonna work?
In terms of South Avenue or within the site?
So on South Avenue specifically, that's what you're proposing? As-
Yeah, they'd probably like to put out some cones
Okay.
so that people won't be parking there.
So you mentioned in South Avenue is a state highway, by their ordinance that you are allowed to park on South Avenue, so, we just wanna make sure it's a safe operation.
Yeah.
So, is there gonna be a ramp somewhere where they, can you just walk us through that a little bit?
There's a sidewalk along the frontage, and then there's a ramp into the, that goes towards the building and then up, along parallel with the building to the entrance. Are you looking for like a ramp that goes to the curb?
I don't think the state would allow that, only because it's ADA, I would think, but I don't know. That's something I think needs to be thought about a little bit. Or maybe you don't need a ramp, I don't know. Or maybe just a sidewalk, platform, like an apron or something.
We can do that.
Just to allow people to not step on the grass.
That's fine.
Okay. And then, so I will say that the parking lot, are you talking about the parking lot or is that traffic?
It depends on the question.
So I think from where we were to where we are is leaps and bounds better. Do you, is there a rendering of the site?
I didn't bring the previous design.
No, I don't need the
Oh.
previous design, for this sign. Is there color rendering that's gonna be presented at some point?
Of the building?
Yeah, okay, so that's a discussion for later then. And then traffic, you have a traffic engineer?
Yes, we have traffic.
Is there any ground-mounted mechanical units?
Everything, I'll defer to the architect, I believe it's going to come.
Minus potentially the transformer, if necessary.
If necessary.
So you mentioned the pump being hooked up, being battery backed up?
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that there's gonna be a generator.
Yes.
I would recommend that you think about connecting the pump to the generator,
Okay.
and just in case we have those longer events where there may not be power, just to keep it running in case of flooding or whatever.
I'll say yes, but I'll defer to
Yeah,
the architect.
okay.
I mean, if that's possible, I'm okay with it.
And then you mentioned about paving curb to curb along Old South Avenue. I assume that's just where the utilities are being installed, or?
Yes.
Okay. And then just a couple technical comments about some grading. The lighting on Old South Avenue. I think we want to keep that side of the site a little less bright,
Okay.
because that's the residential side of the site.
I think if you can, I know it's not visible, like you could look at it, but there's zeros usually around the Old South Avenue in terms of the isometric foot candles.
Proposed you're talking about.
Proposed, yes.
And there'll be no lighting spillover on lot 6?
No.
The adjacent lot?
And if there are, we'll put, if there are any lights, I believe there's a couple lights there we could put shields. And when we submit it, it'll show that there.
Native landscaping is discussed.
We'll work with, if the town can give us a list of bird species we can keep from.
And then I did mention that the street trees should be between the curb and the sidewalk, which you said you would address. Of course, that's contingent to DOT allowing it along South Avenue, so. But
On the
If they
other
don't
side.
allow it, we'll leave it the way it is.
Would you like me for us to do it on Old South Ave?
It should be on Old South Avenue along the curb line. And then what wasn't mentioned, which maybe your traffic engineer, we asked that you look into providing a crosswalk across South Avenue. Is that,
Isn't there already?
there's not one there.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think, yeah, we could, again.
So I just want to say that you're asking for this, but if the DOT doesn't allow it, it shouldn't be a contingency of approval for the crosswalk. Because they may, depending on who we talk to, they may say yes or no. And that's, those are my comments. Thank you.
I'll have one more comment regarding parking design, but I'm curious to see the architect's rendering, because I think Antonios and I may have some additional questions which incorporates the architectural and your traffic flow. And I'll ask that question a little bit later in the program. Thank you very much.
Now we'll go through the members of the board and ask questions. Mr. Hill.
You had mentioned the detention system, so is the detention system only the perforated pipes?
Yes,
So there's no detention tank or anything like that?
no. Wait, the detention pipe does have like an upstream and downstream chamber. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That makes it a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the numbers, the
Yeah.
flow goes and check with that size, correct?
Can you just talk about how that works with the
Sure.
outflow?
So essentially, the roof drains will drain all roof area to the underground detention system. Once it goes into the upstream chamber or flow through the pipe will be perforated to allow runoff to percolate into the ground. And if for excessive storms, anything that's not infiltrated will discharge to the existing storm sewer that's along South Ave.
And just, I know it's a little technical, was it a 1 in 10, like, what kind of storm? I know you said.
Well, we're trying,
excessive,
we're
right?
designing the site to be a reduction across of 225 and 100 people.
So, yeah, they're increasing the site by about 6,000 square feet of impervious new. So that's really what our guidelines allow, but I think they're going above that and reducing the amount of flow into the system.
Here's one thought I have for that corner, on Old South and South, would be to put an oak tree there. Since on the OC over there, there's
A 3-story monstrosity.
Put a tree up.
Parking, you said is maneuverability traffic engineering?
Maneuverability is traffic engineering, but it is, we are proposing to provide aisle.
Several.
Talk about maneuverability with the traffic engineer, and then the schedule that you came up with, the calculation of the ordinance and industry standards. So you have the ordinance, and then I guess what I refer to RSIS 44, is that applicable in this case?
Or
If it is.
The traffic engineer, we'll talk about it, but RSIS is maximum amount of parking.
Traffic engineer.
Yes.
Whether or not.
Well,
Yeah, that's fine. Traffic engineer.
The plans, of course,
We can go into no more garbage.
Can I ask a question? Just for purposes of figuring out who's testifying about what, so the public knows. With respect to garbage, you seem to testify about, the procedure of how the garbage is gonna be handled.
Yes.
But the design of the garbage facility, whatever, that would be the architect? Okay. How about what's inside of it? Is that the architect?
Yes.
And to just build on of her point, the engineering plans show something different than the architecture plans,
Yeah.
or what's in the reference area, so we want some clarity.
No, I
Mayor Mark?
Thank you. Couple questions. So we'll get to the interior parking with someone else. We'll get into the trash management with someone else. I'd like to talk a little bit about the lights.
Okay.
So are you able to kind of talk about the placement of the lights, you know, sort of the brightness of the lights, where on the building on the front, where on the building on the back, how high up, you know, like,
Yes.
you know, so can you, 'cause I don't feel like we delved enough into that, to be honest with you.
Sure.
So can you just walk us through that again?
We're gonna ignore the ones that say C1 that's in the parking area. These lights here, W1, W1, and B2 here, B1 here, are exterior fixture lights. The height of these lights are approximately 10, they range between 10 and 11 feet.
So when you say exterior, they're not affixed to the building?
They are fixed to the building.
Okay, and then they're 10 feet high on the
Yes.
building?
And they shine, and they'll shine, yeah.
Okay. Do you show in detail of what you are proposing? So as you're doing that, how many do you have of the exterior lights along the front of the building, which I would say South Avenue?
There are 2 lights along South Avenue and approximately 3 lights along Old South Avenue. And I don't have a detail for those lights, but I can provide them.
Okay, the fence is, where, can you show me, is it on the property line? Where is the actual, is it gonna be?
The fence will be off the property line along our side, along the shared lot line of lot 6.
Okay, and it can't be one straight line, and you have to have some detail and job. I think we have some questions about the transformer and the generator. So let's assume that you're gonna do both, right? Let's assume that you need a transformer, and you're gonna do, you said you're gonna do generator. Show us on the site where you would envision putting it.
Depending on where PSEG told us to put it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you don't have a lot of open space, so, you know what I mean, let's say you have to work with them, you have to go South Avenue. Right, you need a
Yeah.
pad on both, right? You need a pad for the transformer, and you need a pad for the generator, correct?
Yes.
And would they have to be next to each other, would they be apart? I mean, no, I mean, look, because you wouldn't want it, what we would consider at the point, right? Because that's supposed to be grass, but we're talking about trees, but whatever, right? And so, and we wouldn't really want it along the back of the fence line, because that again is against somebody's side of their house. So where would you think that you could end up putting a pad? Because, only because we've seen, we don't really talk about this now, it ends up in places that will just have.
I'm wondering if we could put it maybe along this corner next to the building, we have a little bit of a gap there, and maybe we can shield it with some plantings.
Mayor, the architecture, just like the generator, again, it's only gonna be an emergency backup generator, would be on the roof with the other utilities.
Oh, so the generator's on the roof? Okay, so I didn't actually get that.
And again, it's a smaller emergency.
That's all the questions I have right now. Well, the parking, the layout
about the parking, for the going back to the architect, right, because that's number 24 on the report, right? 3.4, I'm sorry, 3.4. Okay.
I just want to go back to lighting for a second, you know, it's not this, but can we just discuss again the lighting along Old South Avenue, how bright they're gonna be, and we lead over from those lights as well as the parking lot entry lights?
Okay, sure. The lights along Old South Avenue are about 794 to 850 lumens. That needs to be big view, but based on the isometric foot candles, the lights kind of die down around the curb line, so there's not really any spillover past.
So they're pointing downwards from the first floor level or second floor level?
A little bit above the first floor.
Okay. And then along South Avenue, you made a reference to sidewalk safety lighting as well as the two.
That, right now, those lights have to be adjusted so that there can be a little bit more light along the sidewalk. Right now, it kind of stops a little bit before before the sidewalk. So we want to, especially with the trees being moved out, I want to provide a little bit more, lighting in that area.
Yeah, so you want to emphasize, we keep talking about Old South Avenue as the residential side, but South Avenue is your little bit directly across the street from South Avenue are also properties and backyards. So
Yes.
the same concern about the downward facing lights. So please give me like a little bit more detail about where those are going to be positioned and brightness, et cetera.
We will revise the plans.
What?
So there's a total of 5 lights,
Yes.
5 exterior.
Currently, if we might have to add an additional one if we need more lighting up to the sidewalk. I think that was one of the comments.
While we're on lighting, did you take into account any of the already on-street lighting, the overlighting that's out there?
No, we didn't.
Is that something you could maybe put onto the plans
Yes.
to show that, just to show the intensity of what's there already?
And it might require us to adjust the lights based on the existing light fixtures.
Mr. Rizzi?
No further questions. No questions.
Yeah, no further questions. So at this time, we will accept the motion to open the meeting to the public. But before we do so, I would just like to remind everybody to be professional, that your comments, respectful, maintain a proper questions that are specific. And you notice that we're specifically speaking to the engineer, so the questions must be particularly related to the testimony of the engineer that we're. So we have a motion to open. Second. The meeting is now open to the public. If you have a question, you can line up along the water fountain side and recognize you in 5 minutes.
Can you state your name and address for the record?
Gary Morris, 405 South Avenue. I'm a stone's throw away from this property.
Okay.
Actually, when I was younger, it's a stone's throw away. I want to talk about the parking for a second. We have, my parents lived in Fanwood Crossing. They had 1 parking spot per bedroom, and that's not enough for that facility, okay? You went from 36 bedrooms to 32 bedrooms, okay? That's a reduction of 4 bedrooms from one version to the next version. You went from 28 parking spaces to 24 parking spaces, so it's actually worse than it was before. the
Sorry,
bed,
is there a question?
yes.
Again,
The bedroom to parking ratio is actually worse than it was before. How do we get back to that? Now, one thing that stands out is, the lawyer said, this is basically a new application. If it's a new application, then the April ordinance deletion of the parking ordinance in Fanwood, it should be done, and we should go by the state standard. So if he literally said it out loud, this is a new application. So I want to know, why can't we get adequate parking for this facility?
It's time of submission.
And speaking of the time of submission, whose name was on it? It's crossed off. The paperwork that's online had somebody else's name on it, the prior owner, and that's crossed off. He just said it's a new application basically now. Let's start this right, and maybe you could get people on board with it if it was adequately parked. It's not. It's just not. We can all go down South Avenue and see what happens in Plainfield. There's businesses being ruined down there because tenants are parking in business spots. It's not right, and it's dangerous. And
This is reserved for questions
Okay.
for the engineer
Okay.
on what he testified.
I'm
Okay.
waiting for a question.
we were, okay. So why can't we reimagine this with proper parking? Is that something we could do?
This application has been around since 2024. This was submitted previous to the.
He just said it was new tonight.
So, Ms. Morris, I'm going to clarify that. It is a new application with respect to the revisions. It is not a new application legally. Legally, was submitted
Can I
back
ask you-
in October of 2024, and it's been carried and carried and carried. The
Okay?
new ordinance does not apply. So
What-
that's a legal question,
Yes.
which we're not going to
Okay.
resolve tonight.
Okay, another thing I'd like to point out. Since again, I'm an eyewitness, my windows in my house literally overlook the Laurel and South Avenue intersection. It's quite entertaining at times, I have to admit. But what happens is, cars are making a left onto Laurel. They swing around, and they're in the lane where you're going to have an Amazon guy parking his truck. They're gonna go swing around somebody and hit a truck there. It's not a safe place to park vehicles on South Avenue. And I know there's a neighbor here whose car was totaled on South Avenue, where somebody was looking at their phone and ran right into their car doing 40 miles an hour. It's a dangerous spot. Just keep in mind, they're swinging around there and putting a crosswalk there. Honestly, you're better off without a crosswalk. I want people to understand that you really shouldn't be crossing there, and if you are, you gotta be extra careful, not assume putting your foot in a crosswalk, everybody's gonna stop. So, anyway, I just wanted to point out, it's a huge safety issue there, and we gotta resolve where you're going to have the drop-offs and pickups. It can't be on South Avenue, it's dangerous. Thank you.
So let's reiterate, we are specifically looking for questions following the testimony. We'll have plenty of time at the end, 5 full minutes for every person to give comments that are about the general application, safety of the building, so there's plenty of time for everybody to speak tonight. All right, is there any other members of the public that come up?
I have a,
Hold on.
yes.
There's no legal issues in that board issue.
Yes, I did.
Can you state your name and
Yeah.
address for that?
David Harple, 62 Wilkes. I had a question. I have a lot of questions, but I'm just gonna ask a few maybe. Generator, you spoke about it, and the transformer pad. He said you won't need a pad because that will go on the roof. So if that goes on the roof, does that extend the height of the plan of what it was originally? And the generator, can the generator go on, the transformer go on the roof?
I would have to defer to the architect, but in terms of the generator height, it does conform with the roof requirements for
So where would that go on the roof, actually?
The architect will show you on his plans during this time.
Percolation test in the water. You said when we get a storm, that's essentially a bad one. What is essentially a bad one? Is that a certain percentage of rain per minute, per hour?
No, it's usually based on what they designate as certain.
So what is the designation? And who is designating it? So I can do some research.
25-year or 100-year storm is usually like the massive.
Is the bad. So the storms, let me ask you this, the storms that like, you're on the highest point of us going down South Ave and Old South into Locust and down that way. That's a good point. We're on the low end, and as the houses go, it kind of just steps down. And normal rain, it will come into the sidewalk doors on our garage. So now we have more space, double from what I'm hearing, that is now non-porous. So that would increase it by 2?
It will increase the amount of runoff if you don't do any.
So if we already have a bad problem, what are we gonna, what are you gonna do to exactly accept? I heard some pipes and permeable underground, but like, is that really gonna stop anything? Like, is that, what happens if it does? Like, what's our recourse? Like, during the building, is it gonna be there?
In the design of the stormwater, we take on-site conditions, like we said, we'll do a percolation test to see how fast the water will sit into the ground. And most storms will stay on site and infiltrate into the ground. But the way that this is designed, the amount of runoff for the post-development, for after construction, will be less than what it was previously. So we left the site as is now.
And then as far as water pressure, our water pressure is horrible already to begin with. How would this affect our water pressure going to our houses?
I can't answer that.
So who, I need some guidance, not the first time doing this, I'm just curious. I've got a list of about 100 questions that I came up with last night, and half of them I don't even know if I'm talking about the right stuff. But I just want to make sure that we're protected as a community and my neighbors.
They will probably ask to do some testing prior to make sure that they provide enough water for the site.
Okay.
Would you mind commenting a little bit further? That is a good question.
For the water? So American Water, New Jersey American Water is the operator of our water system down here. Like Mr. Suedo said, it would be testing to make sure there's enough pressure for the building and enough pressure for the neighborhood. It's something called a will serve letter, which says we have enough pressure and adequate volume of water to service your new building.
So as residents of the neighborhood, will we have that letter showing us that it will be adequate and our pressure will not change?
It'll
Like,
go
is that
through-
something that will be-
Something that they will request. We could request it as part of this application, and then you could ask for that.
Because I see a lot of like, maybe this could happen, or it's possible, I'm sorry. Maybe this could happen, or this is possible, but it never really gets answered, just kind of like the lighting. Well, maybe there's 5, maybe there's not, I'm not real sure. Like, some people aren't really 100% sure of like, when is the process finalized? Like, when do we get the final, like, this is what it's gonna be? Because I hear a lot of changings, and there's a lot of moving parts, and I understand that.
I mean,
So like, something that I would want is that, something that says, hey, your water pressure's not gonna change. At least I have something to go back and say, it did change.
so the will serve letter is not gonna say that. The will serve letter is for the development and assures the development that it has enough water pressure and water to serve the residents. If you don't have water pressure, you should contact the American Water. I mean, seriously, like, you have a right to have the right pressure.
Sure.
And if American Water isn't supplying that, and you're paying for it, and I'm not like
Right,
putting
right,
this
so what
off
I
on
do-
you, I'm just saying.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So my pressure is X, and American Water says that's fine. Do I go and get that tested now, prior? Because then if I see a change, then I can have a fighting chance here.
Yeah, so I think, I'll just jump in here, so, and Tony, I think it's a valid question, right, about pressure prior and pressure after, right? And, you know, understanding what the pressure's gonna, if the development's gonna change the pressure in the neighborhood, right? That is a question that you can get an answer to.
I guess reach out to our contacts over at American Water and see what kind of pressure we have in the neighborhood and,
That would be a good thing to do.
Yep.
Yep.
And then just one more question about the parking in the front. Those trucks that are moving people in, if they are parked on South Ave, like right now, I don't see any shoulder there. The shoulder kind of ends as the beginning of this here, like, yeah, as you're coming this way, the shoulder kind of ends there. There isn't right now currently a shoulder in front of the restaurant, right? If I'm correct. I think it kind of picks up by the houses. No, like here. Like as you're coming down this road here, the shoulder kind of ends and it turns into here, and then this is just kind of curved and goes into, right? There is a little bit of a shoulder, but this house, are they gonna be parking in front of this guy's house down the end here, like the big trucks? Because the ramp is located on this left side, or is there gonna be some kind of ordinance telling them, like, you can't park any further than this, stay in front of the building, like, because I can see them in front
Any
of.
type of restrictions that we have to ask the DOT, they have jurisdiction. They could say that they could put something here, or they could say that they don't want to.
As far as signage, but is the plan for them to park there down by that ramp?
So that could be something that we talk about later with the traffic.
Okay, with traffic,
because,
understood.
you know, if we determine that that's not appropriate, we can probably make that a condition if in fact it's. But I think you probably reached your 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You can come back.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Didn't realize.
Just so you know, that's Antonio's and he is our engineer, so you can call.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand, just swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yeah. And your name and your address?
Kathleen Merkel, 62 Locust Avenue, Fanwood, New Jersey. Good evening, everyone. I'd like further clarification, and I'm not sure if that's going to be from you or the architect, regarding the trash and recycling. So we'll know specifically the number of times of use and the container situation.
With the container situation, but right now, I believe it's at least once a week. And there's liberty to be up.
And recycling.
Because as citizens in Fanwood, we have recycling every other week. So that'll change.
Theirs is a private hauler. They're not. Their records were not private.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the meeting? Fine. So moved.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to call upon Jay Troutman, our traffic engineer.
Yes, I do. Yes, my name is Jay Troutman. My business address is 105 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. I'm principal with the firm which is Dunn & Ray Associates. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I'm conducting traffic studies for 38 years for various types of developments, as well as reviewing them on behalf of the planning and zoning board that I represent.
Motion to recognize the pensions. All right. Second.
Those in favor?
In favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Troutman, I know you are here this evening and going to address site circulation, traffic and the like, and I know that decided to prepare the traffic study, and your comment on that also, please, around it.
So yes, we were retained to analyze the traffic and parking impact of the site, the adequacy of the access and the on-site circulation, and of course, review of plans and reports from the borough. There was a fully detailed traffic impact study prepared and submitted as part of the application. That study included field inspections, traffic counts, site traffic estimates, future traffic volume projections, and analysis of future traffic operations in the area, as well as a review of parking. The traffic study shows that proposed development is a low traffic generator, and that the adjacent and surrounding roadway network has adequate roadway capacity to accommodate the site-generated traffic. The impact of traffic from 16 multi-family units is not significant and will not have a measurable impact on the traffic conditions in the area.
Okay. Another tree up.
Residential multi-family sites are one of the most well-researched land uses in the state of New Jersey. There are volumes and volumes of data on what these uses generate in terms of peak hourly impact. That data was used in the analysis that was conducted. It does not amount to a significant amount of volume during any given peak hour. Peak hours you typically look at for use like this would be a weekday morning commuter hour, or your weekday afternoon commuter hour, and then also Saturday activity. This site in a weekday morning peak hour, another thing that needs to be clarified with these uses is that all of the traffic does not happen in a single hour. People have different work times, different schedules. So the building will generate traffic over a period of 4 hours each morning. So we measure what the highest amount of traffic per single hour. Same thing in the afternoon. School teachers come home at different times than lawyers. There's all different schedules out there, and the people will come and go based on their work schedules. And when you compile all the data for 16 units, the peak hour traffic in and out of that driveway on Old South Avenue, you have 2 entering movements in the morning peak hour and 4 exiting movements. For the weekday afternoon peak hour, you have 6 entering movements and 4 exiting movements. So that's 6 trips in the morning peak hour, 10 trips in the weekday afternoon peak hour. Some of the factors that would be favorable at this site in terms of traffic impact are the abundant access to mass transportation, bus routes, and train station, and that tends to reduce the need for vehicle ownership, and that tends to drive down parking demand. There have been many studies on parking at these facilities since the New Jersey Residential Site Improvement Standards were published, and a lot of the headlines have come out saying that some of the earlier multi-family buildings that were built were actually overparked. It's not a very large study just put out by Rutgers, and that was basically the headline.
We're marking that one.
Buildings. The township code for this zone, 1.5 spaces per unit, has been affirmed by volumes of data. The Rutgers data affirms it. My own personal studies affirm it. Townships and boroughs I represent affirm it. And the 1.5 number is a number that is not exceeded in many of the studies that you've seen. I haven't seen it exceeded in any of my after field studies. In spite of that, this site can still comply with RSIS. And the reason for that is you have 24 spaces within the site and you're required within that, within your parking supply to have at least a half a space per unit for visitors, and that parking can be handled by on-street supply.
Exactly.
Yep.
No way.
Has extensive curb frontage along this property,
Oh, no.
so that if somebody needed to visit the site, they can easily park on South Avenue. Any visitor parking could be accommodated on South Avenue. I believe that the on-site supply is self-sufficient, that that's something that will not occur, but that is available in RSI that allows you to help that as available parking. So this is a compliant site in terms of the ordinance, and it's also a compliant site in terms of RSI.
You do your studies and leave us with chaos.
Traffic flow to and from the site. There is a two-way driveway on Old South Avenue to access the 24 parking spaces. Vehicles would have the option to enter either from the west, at the west end where Old South connects with South, or at the east end, so you would either turn left into Old South Avenue, come and turn right into the site, or if you're coming from the east, you could make a right turn on Old South and turn left into the site. The reverse would be for exiting traffic. You could leave to Old South Avenue, turn left to go west, and turn right to go east. We did check both ends of Old South Avenue at the intersections with South, and the traffic rating on those intersections for turning movements is a very good level of service. It's a level of service B rating, which is a very high rating, and that's not going to change when you add the additional peak hour turning movements from this site. So basically, our finding is that in terms of off-site traffic impacts as well as on-site traffic flow and parking, that this site's been adequately designed to accommodate the expected demand.
And I think there was a question before that Christian deferred. Just take us again through the adequacy of the aisle lists and site circulation within the parking area.
Yeah, the on-site flow is fully compliant with RSIS. The main aisle in the garage is adequate for two-way traffic. It's 24 feet wide, and it's adequate for parking and on-parking maneuvers within the garage. We've checked it with templates, but it doesn't even really need to be checked because it's fully compliant with current standards.
I have no further questions at this time, Mr. Trout.
Thank you. So can you explain, do you have the number of the traffic that was generated by the restaurant?
The empty
Their
restaurant
peak
has zero.
versus the new peak?
Yes.
Can you talk about that, please?
Sure, yes. So the restaurant site-generated projections were 10 to 11 trips per hour, coincident with the peak hour of the adjacent roadway. So that's 10 to 11 for the restaurant. This site is 6 to 10.
What?
So it's similar,
Similar.
it's about the same.
Yes.
One question that popped up in my mind just now. So the report was from Mr. Steiger.
Yes.
Are you with the same outfit, or are you with a different?
No, I'm relying on his findings, his work. I reviewed everything as if I was new to the review.
And do you agree with his findings for your professional opinion?
Yes.
So did you take any credits for the mass transit in the area?
No, there was no credit for taking for mass transit.
And just for the record, do you know how close the nearest bus stop and how far the train station is from here?
Yeah, the bus stop is 0.15 miles, walking distance, and the train station is less than a half a mile.
Okay, and then you mentioned the level of service, there was no change. So currently all traffic goes onto directly South Avenue, and now it's gonna go onto Old South Avenue. The level of service is not changing on Old South Avenue, turning into South Avenue.
That's correct. Yeah, there will be no change in level of service for traffic movements at either end of Old South and accessing South Avenue.
Those are my comments. Oh, I'm sorry. So you said fully compliant for our SIS. Did you look at the size of all the spaces and are those all compliant now also?
Yes.
I do agree with that. Also, there's enough ADA parking for the site. So those are my comments.
I have one question. Thank you for your testimony. I'm no traffic engineer, obviously, but is there any, at the front, when you enter the site, do you see any point of conflict with the nearest parking space to that mechanical room when you're pulling in and if they're backing out and somebody's pulling in the driveway? Do you see any potential conflict at that corner? Yeah, those two spaces there specifically.
Yeah, those two spaces, obviously, it would be similar to any parking situation where you would need to have sight lines to view. If there's a pedestrian, there might be somebody else using the driveway, but it would just be, reasonable driver behavior to navigate that. So, I mean, it is a conflict when two things are happening at once, but you would make your maneuvering towards the.
And that column wouldn't have like a large impact on visibility?
No,
right?
no.
I do have a comment, I appreciate the planner bringing this up now, as well as Mr. Dabulas. And sir, I've got a question for you, but it may incorporate the engineer, the architect, the traffic testimony. Let's talk about the 4 spots closest to the mechanical room. And that's where your driveway, your 24-foot wide apron is to navigate in and out as your points of egress. In the parking design in the commercial corridor, parking that requires vehicles to back out onto a public right-of-way is prohibited. So in my opinion, and I'm not a traffic engineer, those 4 parking spaces at a minimum would need to be backed into and not pulled in head-on, so the cars can navigate straight out onto the right-of-way. And that's per the ordinance on page 29 of 184, 119, off-street parking and circulation. I mean, I understand the back, inside the carport area, garage area, I see there's plenty of room to maneuver and make your K-turn movements. However, those 4, as the planner has also provided testimony to, there may be some conflict there. And I'm just reading an excerpt from 184.
So those spaces are still backing into the aisle portion, they're not backing into the right of way, they have a full aisle in that area where they can back into an aisle and then get forward.
Back into there, but it wouldn't be head-in parking, it would be reverse parking into those 4 parking spaces, so the car pulls straight out onto the driveway opening and then out onto the
Provide turning templates for those 4 spaces.
Yeah, we can show that back out is still within the confines of the site, and they would be forward facing when they enter the right of way.
So the nearest spot to the mechanical room, that'd be able to back out fully and then turn out of the site?
Correct.
Yeah, I agree, turn templates, visualize that.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Mr. Brennan?
No questions. When the parking the on-street parking, did you account for current on-street parking by residents on South Avenue in your evaluation that there was sufficient space for visitors and other overflow?
No, I only considered the large amount of curb face that this property encompasses, it would be nothing beyond this property.
So are there currently cars that park there?
No.
No?
And also, as the engineer stated, there's actually a lot of driveway openings right now, so nobody really could park there.
There's not a lot of opportunity to park there now. I think it's like 30 or maybe more, maybe 50% of curb cuts there, so.
Maybe I misheard before, but I thought with the engineer, someone was discussing deliveries and pulling up on South Ave, like Amazon trucks and whatnot. And perhaps there was a suggestion that you could ask DOT to make it a no parking zone for people, for the deliveries and pulling up. Did you hear that discussion before?
I didn't hear anybody suggesting making it a no parking zone.
No, okay, then perhaps I was wrong.
Honestly, I don't think DOT would give them a loading zone on South Ave.
Okay. Maybe someone was suggesting it would be.
That was for the crosswalk.
Okay.
That was for this crosswalk over here.
Okay. He said he was. Oh, yes, oh, okay, they were just gonna put out cones, not make it a no parking zone. Okay, so that at those periods, so then only for limited periods of time, you wouldn't have parking on. You said the South Avenue provided enough curb that it made up for a lot of parking, you found that that was helpful. My concern was if they were going to be blocking off parking for significant periods of time, would you still find it adequate?
Right.
But I'm guessing if it's just for certain given days,
Yeah.
that would be answering that.
Yeah, there's, that curb face is very generous because of the shape of the lot. There's a vast amount of frontage there. And the, any type of moving vehicle would still be contained in front of the site. There's no need to have any vehicle parked beyond the frontage of the site in this building. And an Amazon truck pulling up to do a delivery here would be just like they do for every house along the site.
There's 24 units in here.
Do you know how many cars you can park on, with the curbs then put back?
If you had to line them up, you probably park 10 or 11 cars on it. Not anticipated, though, based on what the parking generation is.
Just to build on that, Amazon, Uber, food delivery, whatever that may be. 16 units, Amazon delivery trucks all day long. Was that considered in your traffic study? And I also heard earlier that you relied on Steiger's report for the traffic study. So did you not do your own traffic study?
No, I reviewed Mr. Steiger's data in his findings.
Okay. And professionally, you are relying on that data, that
Yes.
data, and you know when that data was taken?
Yes, it was taken in October of 2024.
Okay. So I don't have an issue probably, because traffic is traffic. I probably see not that much people come in and out all day long, departments and whatnot. But you also mentioned something about parking and after studies that you've done for similar developments, that you don't see overflow parking. I mean, I'm not sure what developments you've looked at, to make those conclusions, because the ones in this area, when you look at them, if you look at the Quinn and Plainfield, that's roughly clean, there are cars everywhere. That's right.
Yeah, you can't even drive there anymore.
It's crazy. And I think even our own downtown Fanwood,
It's gonna get worse.
people are parking overnight sometimes, possibly at the train station, there's way too many. And again, people don't own one car per family.
No,
Yes.
of course
Two
not.
bedrooms, 2 cars, 3 bedrooms, 3 cars, could be more, could be less, whatever it may be. But I think there should be some serious consideration into those studies. And if you look at those developments, I'd like to hear where you cited those studies, because I don't think it's relative to what's really happening.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They don't have as high a standard as Plainfield's redevelopment ordinances have much lower standards than one has. So that.
We have to stoop to their low standards, huh?
On the flag is causing cars out on the street. When you park a massive building, one car per unit, you're gonna have.
Yeah,
It's a different standard. You guys have the right standard.
I get that, this is reality. Again, people don't have one car per family, they have multiple cars, they have kids driving, they have other family members, they have guests.
Yeah.
I just think that 24 spaces, and again, if that's the requirement, and I don't know if that meets the RSIS standard, I don't know if that's applicable in this case. I think I heard someone say that it might not be applicable in this application. Correct. I thought it was a minimum requirement.
No, it's a maximum. They clarified that because again, a lot of the sites were getting overparked because a lot of unused parking. So they clarified and said our standards are a maximum. And if you go lower, you don't meet an exception.
They changed it recently to say, these are the requirements, which sounds like you must provide this many. Now RSIS says a maximum of this amount of spaces,
So is that more stringent than our ordinance?
the maximum of
You would
would be
adhere
a
to the
little
more,
higher,
so
so,
you would adhere to the more stringent requirement, not the less stringent requirement.
so our ordinance requires in the CC zones, 1.5 spaces per unit.
Warmer.
So they, and in the last couple of years, the EV parking laws came out, statutes came out, which gave credits for EV parking. They're not taking a credit for EV parking in this application.
I heard that we went to 22.
So it would have went to 22, they didn't take any credit for the 2 spaces, which they could have, which, I'm glad they did. So for RSIS standards, 1.8 would be for 1 bedroom, 2 would be for 2 bedrooms, and I think
2.1.
That would increase our calculation.
It would, yeah, so, I mean, my letter has a calculation of
32 to 40. 39.8.
32 spaces, sounds about right? So,
That would account for the 16 units, that would account for guests, that would account for
Yeah,
additional family
yes,
members.
but.
No, guests are more.
They're meeting the requirements in this situation, because that was planned out, back in 2016, when all this was passed.
Yes, the overflow is going to go to the street, the surrounding area,
Wow.
Old South Avenue, and Laurel, and all those other places, kind of a little bit of cars. Something different.
Yeah, so let me ask this, what are you seeing with these types of buildings, just from your opinion?
There's one that people could look at if they want, that I was involved in Westfield. It's called the Parker. It used to be an old car wash, where Broad Street and South Avenue, right there. So that building has 31 units in it. And if you go under there and count what the parking is they have 1 assigned space per unit. They have the spaces numbered 1 through 31. Each tenant gets 1 spot, and there's 2 ADA spots in addition to the 31 that are can access. So it's a total of 32 spaces under that building, 31 units. And that's a much.
But how often, how are they filled, or there's the spaces just?
You never see any traffic congestion associated with that.
Wire. What basis is it?
You don't see the parking.
Let's go those Carnum parking.
So they only have 32 or 33 spaces?
They have 33.
33 spaces. So theoretically, there may be people parking on the street in the area, just because there's not, and is that all single bedrooms, or is it multiple bedrooms?
They have multiple.
Okay, but for the most part, the tenants are using one car for the family?
Correct.
Just the rent, you can't park both cars. Train station. I'm not sure why they even talking about it.
Okay, so I have concerns about parking on South Ave. I have concerns about the width of the shoulder, I have concerns about how far down on South Avenue that we will allow, and I would want to petition DOT to restrict parking coming back from the corner and coming up.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
I think that it would, there's just, I think to your point, the reality is that they will use here. And when you park on the shoulder on South Avenue, whether it's on this side or whether it's up closer to the town, you really have to pay attention to when you open up your door that you don't get hurt. You know, or, you know, just because of the traffic on South Avenue moves at, you know, at a clip. So I am uncomfortable with using the state highway's shoulder as addressing some sort of, you know, overflow parking. So I want to understand what we can do to restrict that, so that we don't have incidents that are starting to, you know, people are starting to share with us. So one would be to actually stop it at a certain point when we come to tip backwards. I also am concerned about this idea of putting cones up and that whole look and vibe and whatever that's all about. And I really want to just understand that you can't come in under the building, right? You're not able to bring deliveries in under the building.
No.
You'll be able to bring Penske's,
Well, there's a thing about moving in, which would be once a month, right? You know what I mean, like how the rentals would go, right? So, I'm just talking about this idea that the front of the building becomes this makeshift cones and, you know, cars and, you know, there's traffic here. We do traffic counts along South Avenue. We are on a major corridor, you know, in both directions, as we all know. So I'm looking at what we can do to temper what's going on down there, not necessarily expand upon what really is no parking right here. There's really no parking here. Much at all. Even when the restaurant was there, there was very little parking on the street. It was always in the lot for I think the reasons that I'm describing here. So I would want to see restrictions on where we can, how we can use that.
And did you answer whether or not you think like an Amazon truck could get in the garage?
No way.
I'd have to look at that. I'm not
I
sure.
can tell you no. If you take the wheels off. Yeah. He deflates the tires. Deflate the tires.
That's right, so that means comments about how the use is, and then,
This wouldn't be any different than what there are many uses in that stretch between this site and that field. This wouldn't be any different than a home taking a delivery.
24 units.
A home having a home.
24 times.
I drive through here
More people.
daily, and I see parking areas and low intensity, but it's not gonna demand a lot of people out on the street in front of the site, parking supply within the site is adequate. So this would just be an occasional stop, and I think the curb face is very useful for that. It's right next to the building, it doesn't cause anybody to cross the street, and I think it would operate safely.
I have a question. The Rutgers study that you mentioned, was that something that you used to rely on your considerations about the parking?
No, it's just evidence that the borough's 1.5 per unit is the right number. It proves out that the borough's number is right.
And can you just explain the methodology for the use of the mass transit and how that would impact the parking?
So what the mass transit tends to do is reduce reliance on vehicle ownership. So you could have a couple where somebody's commuting into the city and somebody else is driving to the hospital, they would only need one car. They could do it, and the trend in the younger generation is to just have.
NJ Transit is so reliable.
What's happening in my family with my kid who got married, they only own one car. The reason these standards are set like this, when they're in that, it does reduce reliance on the vehicle.
And that's supported by data that you reviewed and studies.
Correct.
Can I ask one more question, please? Do you or one of the other representatives of the developer, the applicant, know if they plan on charging a parking fee in the garage? Or is that
Forces people onto the streets to save money. That's a good question.
I do not know the
Okay, thank you, because my concern is that if there is a fee charge and it's anything above nominal, it will increase the number of cars on the road.
And how do you dole out the extra spots? Everybody's gonna want the extra spots.
And that is the next question. So the spots will be similar to the Westfield property that you mentioned, one designated spot per property, and then overflow?
Yes, you would get one parking space per unit numbered, and I would propose that those last 3 right near the driveway not be assigned, because we've been discussing that as a conflict area. Those could be open spaces. The 2 ADA spaces would obviously be open, and depending on if there was a tenant that had an EV, they may or may not get assigned an EV, and if they weren't, some of the EVs would be open as well. But you have enough parking interior to assign 1 per unit, and then still accommodate
So when you say open, that means that residents can park there, or they would be designated for business spots?
I think that they would be open for residents.
Okay, because if they were, I've lived in several family areas, and they've all had designated visitor spots that were not open to residents, so that would be a concern of mine, that you have 3 spots that would not be able to flow into the underground parking. So saying that's something.
And anybody exiting Old South needs to judge a gap in the South Avenue traffic before they can make a left or right turn out onto South Avenue. So what the level of service methodology does is, based on the volume of traffic on South Avenue, it models what the available gaps would be on South to make those turning lanes. The other thing that factors in is how much existing traffic is already there making this move. So that's picked up in the traffic counts. And when all of that is modeled, there's a procedure that basically estimates how much delay on average each car would experience coming out to make one of those turning movements that I just described. And the methodology, depending on how high the delay is, they assign a letter grade to it. And so letter A is the best, kind of like the report card situation. And they go all the way down to level of service F, which is higher than letter. So these movements, getting out onto South Avenue are all in the B range, which is a delay of 10 to 15 seconds per vehicle.
15 seconds on the time.
I also kind of closed out my comments with just echoing concerns by the members of the board. I think just the way of life and the adoption of more delivery services, everything from the streets, it's just going to continue to pick up. And I don't think comparing that curb spot to the single-family homes in the area is comparable. It should be comparable to 16 single-family homes.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's responsible to use the data. That being said, are there any other comments from the board? All right, any questions? All right, with that being said, we can now have a motion to open the hearing. Public for questions. Second. The meeting is now open to the public for questions.
Name and address.
Hold on, just swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And your name and address.
Well, they can stand up, 26 Kingsfield Terrace.
First question is, I guess, just doubling down on that. Can you explain your thought process behind the Amazon deliveries? I have a house, small ranch, 2 adults, 2 toddlers. We're getting 2 to 3 deliveries a day, right? And I guess the second question is, do you understand Amazon's new delivery model? It's not one truck coming, parking, unloading all their packages, right? It's independent contractors coming, they're coming throughout the day from 4 a.m., which is 10 a.m., to 10 a.m. Right, so the idea that, do you understand where I'm going? And just doubling down on Mr. Martyr's comment that maybe that data needs to be double checked.
I mean, it's not really data, it's availability of a space for a truck to pull up and execute the delivery. And there's safe space to do that in front of the site. It's very generously curved, right out in front of the.
As long as those parking spots aren't full, I think we in the room and hopefully people on the desk are starting to realize that they're always going to be full. Landscaping trucks, multiple delivery trucks. That's.
This size building will not create that.
Who funds your work?
Yeah.
Is what I suspect. Do you know who funds the Rutgers study?
I do. I didn't know the funding source on that now.
Any chance the state of New Jersey?
I'm not gonna speculate.
Given their state-funded university, I'd assume it's the people enforcing and imposing these burdens on our small town municipality. So I think that's highly suspect to use that data as well.
Well, it's not suspect, it's held up, but based on my own personal studies, we've had plenty of parking surveys. It's like, these are totally wrong with that data. It's the most well-researched data in the state. And the facts are facts in terms of parking.
But you're also touting Parker. Have you driven on South Ave and Broad Street in Mansfield?
All the time,
It's a night.
every day.
And there's also a giant municipal parking lot right behind the Parker, which is a much different scenario than what we're dealing with here in this building.
Yeah, that's the permanent parking lot.
And you don't think cars spill back there?
Not with the Westfield PD enforcement that I see.
Last thing, have your studies taken into account the 2 other monstrosities currently being built? There's 2 giant developments happening right down the road from this one that's being proposed. I'm asking if the traffic studies that have probably been done by the applicant for the other two, coordinated with you to understand what the full traffic impact is on the town between all three of them.
Yeah, there's all these growth factors in these studies.
General growth factors that the state is not proposing, we have to do. But I would ask you guys, please, when we look at all three of these or combined, as well as our neighbors in South Plains and Westfield, it's a disaster that should be happening at the county level, state level.
Yeah.
And it's obviously the state level that's the problem here, that's why we have these difficulties, that's why all you guys remember that when we're voting. But, I would also ask what we're doing to push back on the state on this, but any questions?
I'm not gonna be able to move.
That's, I didn't come and interrupt on that. He's got nothing to do with pushing back on the state.
And that was directed to you, I suppose.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do they care though about all the traffic from the other two ones to come?
South Ave. First question I have is, what is the case for record study? Does it account for the shift to work from home, even in progress? Because that is, are we overly relying on that?
I got it, yes. I think it postdates that actually, but I can check that.
Second, have you actually observed the traffic patterns on Old South or South Ave? And where I'm going with this is, I think we've heard a lot about South Ave, how busy it is. There's going to be trucks up the bus street. There is a tendency for people to circumvent South Ave, come down Old South Ave, especially when our roadway is closed. Now we're putting a driveway, we're having more vehicles come down there. We're possibly blocking with trucks and whatnot. We're going to have more traffic circling down there. Everything I read online says the average household has 1.83 to 1.83 or 1.88 cars per household, not 1.5. So now we have these extra vehicles too. And as the mayor pointed out, nobody can park on South Ave. You take their life in their hands to park on South Ave. They're going to park on Old South Ave, which is a very narrow street. And there's no sidewalks. So we're going to have added traffic. We're going to have added vehicles on a narrow roadway. We can no longer walk on that street. There's no sidewalks. It's essentially becoming a prison. Did you take that into consideration?
There's a lot said there, I don't think it was really a question, but I drive through here on a regular basis, I'm very familiar with the patterns. I have really witnessed anybody really moving the street you mentioned. South Avenue is free flowing. I see no benefit, no time savings, I've earned off of it. On South Avenue, traffic volumes do not reflect that type of activity, so, yes, that is.
Part of your study, then I like you to see my driveway. You can see it first. Thank
South Ave, Fanwood. My car was totaled by a delivery driver earlier this year. I do have a couple questions. So one, we have this new preschool building that is being built right on LeGrand. And people access that building via South Avenue and LeGrand, which will come up to LeGrand to South Avenue. Have there been or can there be traffic studies that will show that? I mean, I'm sure there's other schools that we can take that from to see. That is absolutely going to increase our traffic. It's going to increase, it's going to be a great increase for our kids, but that is going to be a big thing. That building was vacant in October 2024 when you quoted the traffic study.
Yes.
So that's, I asked the board, I asked you, that we can have that, because that's going to be a very serious consideration. Those are preschoolers, they're going to be dropped off from all over the all over the town. And I think that's a serious consideration. School time is already very busy with buses. When you go up to Hetfield, is there any plan at the corner of Hetfield, the Hetfield Bridge and South, You can sit at that light for multiple turns of the light before going left when it's time to bring your kids to school, to the high school. What is the impact of that gonna be? In addition to the impact of the school already there?
In addition to the two apartment
So
buildings.
this site compared to all that is a nothing burger, I'm gonna call it. It's just.
Well, nothing for you.
Spread out in four directions. So it literally would not notice any impact from this site on any of those locations.
So only 4 of those people that are gonna have children, that they're gonna try to get to school per hour, per day.
Yeah, it's
Yes?
such a.
Is that yeah?
It's a very.
Oh, my God.
I have a composite peak hour of all trip purposes. There's no breakdown into specific school.
Can I get some clarification, because I think she just asked about children being generated and equating that to the 4 trips that we talked about before. And I didn't think that they were equal.
They are.
Okay, you need to clarify.
Yes, it's for the entire building, all of the units. There could be a school trip in one of those.
Okay, but only 4 per 8 o'clock hour or 7:30 hour. There will only be 4.
Yeah, the peak hour traffic generation from this building is 4 exiting movements in the peak hour.
In the peak hour.
Yes.
I also have another question about your record study that I nicely pulled up. You keep quoting it. You keep saying that it needs so much less. I'm seeing a 1-bedroom apartment, according to the Rutgers study, needs 0.98 spots. Another, a 2-bedroom apartment needs 1.45 spots, and a 3-bedroom apartment needs 1.8 spots. That's nowhere near the 16 less the 5 that you just quoted. You were only 3 empty, plus the 2 EV spots not marked. That's nowhere near what you've quoted. And you keep quoting this study.
No, I'm just saying the Rutgers study confirms that the RSIS standards are too high. You just confirmed that with the numbers you read. 'Cause the
That's
RSI
their study. That's not what they're saying. That's just their study. But you're saying that you have enough spots. You don't have enough spots. Well, how are you saying you have enough spots?
Well,
I don't
it
get that.
means the borough ordinance, and what I'm saying is that that study affirms that the borough ordinance is correct.
If you have 1-bedroom apartments.
No,
So-
for the entire mix of bedrooms.
So I have to interrupt because I don't understand this conversation, and if I don't understand it, it's gonna come out terrible on the record, and I don't know about anybody else. First of all, I don't know what study you're referring to, and I don't know what study you're referring to, because I would imagine that Rutgers may have more than one study. So can we try to get on the same page, and is there a question, and you're referring to page in the study? Is that what you're referring to?
I am. I'm referring to table 1, comparison of parking ratios in garden apartments, which is considered. And the Rutgers study, yes. It is on page 5 of 18 on the webpage.
Yeah, so, we're gonna clarify, because you're gonna have to clarify what study you're referring to and whether or not this page 5 table has any relevance to your testimony. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you, yep. Would you do that now, just so we can get it on the...
Well, yes, I can look at them if you want to take a break.
Oh, okay, all right, then let's, go ahead. Mr. Morris, you are still under oath?
Cool.
Shoot.
I was kind of surprised by this traffic study, because I did a traffic study of my own driveway, and apparently I have 32 bedrooms in my house. That's the same number that you're saying for that apartment complex. So, I wanted to give you some insight into real life for a second. He
Mr. Morris.
brought up an example of Parker, okay? I think I should be able to bring up an example of a real life thing in Fanwood, not Westfield, okay? Which is a comparable distance away, which is 40 South Avenue. I have a friend who lives there, okay? She was one of the first people to rent there, The place is completely empty, and yet because you have to pay for parking, which is happening in our town, her mom, when she visits, has to park on South Avenue. It's horrible. It's horrible. Imagine that, on that busy road, the mother having to get out of her car and dodge traffic and walk into that facility. They charge for parking, and it's going to happen because you have a limited supply. It's something that's going to happen, and I think it's something you really gotta deal with. You don't have enough parking.
I think I testified that there's not going to be parking, that was just testified under oath. And please remember, focus on questions.
Okay, and so how can we make it more amenable to the neighbors by having adequate parking? Is it okay if there's empty parking spaces for the neighbors to use those parking spaces in your facility? Probably not. So I think it's imposing on the neighborhood to have 16. The one thing in the RSIS that I think we're not taking into account, there's a footnote on RSIS to have 8 parking spaces for 16 units. 0.5 per unit, that's another 8 spots. And there's only one place that could go is in the streets, and that's what we're worried about. It's strictly a parking issue for me. It's not right. And so figure out a way to take a level off or whatever, make it so you don't need as much parking.
Too much building for too little space.
There's 24 spots in the parking lot, correct?
That's correct.
Hi, you're still in.
I know we're beating this parking thing up pretty good, but something we're trying to stand on.
That's
But,
okay.
my first thought was, you just mentioned a study about the pre-existing restaurant, and you did an hourly, can you just repeat that for me?
Yeah, the trip rate for a restaurant of that size yields peak hour traffic generation of 10 to 11 peak hour trips.
At what time was that peak hour?
That would be,
Let's do the morning first.
well,
Because
depends.
it's a restaurant, right? And you're generalizing it.
Sorry, you have to let him, he was trying to answer.
I just want to be clear, because he generalized first about any kind of restaurant. If we want to be specific.
Starts answering.
Let him ask the questions.
Okay, then let me be crazy. You mentioned something about peak times. This particular restaurant, or was it any restaurant in general?
It's just a restaurant use, a generic restaurant.
Now, that generic restaurant, is it open for breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Yes.
And what are the morning peak times for that restaurant?
So for a generic restaurant, they have rates of traffic generation for the weekday morning peak hour and the weekday afternoon peak hour. And those rates would yield about 10 to 11 trips in those hours.
So when you mentioned that, you said there was no difference between what's going in there now and the restaurant that was pre-existing. That's something you
Yeah,
stated?
in terms of traffic impact from the lot, yeah, basically.
Okay, so now to my point, that restaurant didn't do breakfast and lunch, but these people will be exiting during breakfast and lunch, and those Amazon cars will also be exiting during breakfast and lunch. Do you think that most likely, based on your studies?
Well, yeah, this clearly has a morning peak hour impact, and I
And
do
then,
agree
and
that
then
that.
maybe the night, I'll give you the number, it might be the same, right? That restaurant, back in the day, and then as over the years, it wasn't so busy, but, you know, maybe you'll have that same kind of traffic, but I thought that was kind of different. The other concern on parking on the street, because as much as we want to talk about point B of a car, like, I haven't seen anybody drive half a car. Right? At that point, the person that has a son in college, a daughter in college, they move in, he goes to college, they don't have one spot, that vacant car is gonna have to sit on the street. Will there be some kind of way to prevent that from being there for 6, 7, 8 months without being moved? Or can they park right in front of the building and just leave it there?
Charge them.
I mean, it's not a single-family home, it's a multi-family unit.
Okay, so with,
Typically, again, the vehicle ownership is much lower. There's a lot of research on that. It was in the report. I mean, I could go through it.
okay, so based on your numbers, you'll say there won't be any overflow, nobody will have more than one
No,
car.
I think the site is self-sufficient.
So the cars and deliveries and cars that are gonna end up being on the street, are they, like that street, you can't park there when there's snow. So where are they gonna go?
Yeah.
Resident parking. If somebody wants to visit, park out in front for a couple hours, that might happen.
Stay over?
But there are also gonna be visitor spots under the building as well, so.
If they have an EV and they're handicapped. No dimension?
The width, you mentioned something about the width out front for deliveries to be made. What is the width of that shoulder?
3 feet. 2 feet in
I
spots.
just see that there's
No, it's actually,
wide
you
enough
can
for
actually
parking
have
lane and more
Data.
traffic.
It's
Okay, so as far as parking and traveling lane,
Yeah,
my little Honda doesn't necessarily take up the same space as a UPS truck, or maybe these big dump trucks that are coming by. Because South Ave is a big county road. We get a lot of
big trucks.
18-wheelers. So do you think there's enough space for an 18-wheeler, a UPS truck, and then a car parked on the other side because they slept over at their boyfriend, girlfriend's house, and 2 cars to still pass?
No way.
Is that?
it's how it operates today. If you just go a little bit west of there, you can see cars parked on both sides and traffic.
And would you be willing to do a traffic study or something to help alleviate? We don't want the traffic coming down Old South and Locust. So maybe we can put something like a no left turn during certain times? If this is something that's gonna happen, I'm not sure, but is that the study that you look at to see that alleviates the traffic through the residential? Because our population in that area, we all started off with young kids. Most of our kids on that block are now in college. But what I see is a lot of younger kids now and a lot of families with babies. But I want to avoid that, so maybe that's something we can look at for us.
I don't see the need for any turning restrictions based on the effectiveness. The vehicle should be able to move on whatever streets they
Do you know how many cars on a daily basis park on Old South at the train station?
Yeah.
On both sides?
Yeah. In front of the house every day. Yeah, you're gonna put a nightmare? You really don't want this, sir. Put 2 townhouses up, maybe, not this.
This time, the board's gonna take a 5-minute recess. Sure.
And we hope everybody leaves. Yeah. Stay the course, people, stay the course. You know what I got.
No, I live down.
The last few things, that the application is going to be completed within a short time thereafter. We start at 7, we end at 10. That's our goal. We have finished 2 witnesses, and it's 9:35, and what did we start at, 7:15?
Yes.
So the likelihood of getting through 2 additional witnesses, architect and the planner, your questions, our questions, experts' questions, and also have all your comments, because, you know, that's, a lot of people ask questions, and there's been 4 or 5 people say, ask questions, more people have comments. You know, that's just the trend, because your questions are difficult, and we understand that. So we have to anticipate that you all are gonna have comments. So what we're proposing, and this is to the public as much as to Mr. Hale, is that do you think you can get through the direct of the architect? And, you know, maybe just our experts for any clarification, and then we would stop. And then the next meeting, we would pick up with our questions, public's questions, and then the planner, same deal, and comments. How does that sound?
It's board's prerogative, and
Yeah.
we accept whatever the board.
Well, Mr. Hale, you've been here at our board, so you know the 10 o'clock situation.
No
so-
problem, no problem.
As well as other planning boards all do that. Okay, so, so that's another question. 6/18 is our next agenda meeting. And/or we set a special meeting. What day? The 20th. No, I checked this and the website says the 26th, not the 25th, but it's not the 18th. But it's not the 18th.
No, sorry, the high school is Wednesday. It's rain day.
Well, the first one, the one for this meeting was.
Okay, that was not clear on the website, so.
How do we
Our
reflect something for the planning board person?
What about public notification?
Okay,
I'm asking.
so what we have to decide is whether or not the 6/18 is the date, or whether or not there would be a special meeting, and if there was a special meeting, we obviously have to notice. Both our board would have to notice, and you would have to
I
notice.
think the 18th would be fine with us.
Does everybody think they're attending the 18th? The 18th, or not? You know, I mean, there'd be a quorum, obviously, and it's a very important member of the board, okay, well, that we can't help, so, okay, so what we would say, yeah,
Any member who's not present today can listen to the tape and be eligible to vote, correct?
correct,
All right, so there could be a larger pool of
yes,
members at a later date. If
Right.
Some people that.
yes, that's possible. And likewise, if it goes to another hearing, you know, they have to fill in, but that would be a lot. So, okay, so we're gonna say the 18th.
Yeah, that's fine.
If there is any change, obviously, there'll be notification. Website or, that'll be all done if there's any change. Right now, it's
I guess that's what the end will announce, carry to that date.
yes. Yes, be carried to the 18th after
We'll
the
do that
testimony
at the end
of the architect.
Okay,
Okay.
so, yeah, I'd like to now call upon Andrew Paparesniak, our architect. Let's hear that.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to be clear on something. We're gonna call the architect, and then the professionals are gonna testify or comment, but then we're gonna hold our comments until the 18th?
Correct.
Why don't we just hold everything until the 18th?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you asked us, I was just trying to answer.
I know.
I don't wanna do that.
No.
I wanna do it all at the same time.
Okay, you don't have a choice.
Oh, then why'd you ask me?
Sir, you had a question and I was being polite.
Yeah, I am too. You asked me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did you
got
not
it.
ask me?
That's all right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
How do I bring that forward?
And your name and address for the record.
My name is Andrew Paparazzian, P-O-P-V-E-R-T-Z-N-I-A-K. And the address is 11 High Point, Drive, Springfield, New Jersey.
Paparesniak, if you could please give the board testify as last year, again, give the board the members of work, educational experience, areas of expertise, and whether you have been accepted as professional architect for the board according to the state.
I have testified as a licensed architect and insured. I graduated from the New Jersey School of Architecture in 1985. By 1990, I received my professional license. And
Motion to recognize.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Paparesniak, again, I know you testified at the October hearing, and I outlined at the beginning of the hearing the number of changes that were made. If you could please take the board through floor plans and elevations, and I believe there's also a rendering.
We actually will have 4 exhibits and 2 renderings.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think the exhibits are just mounted versions of the plans that were submitted?
Very, very similar, there was minor changes, and I will point them out.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right, why don't you take the board through that then? And we'll just, I think we're up to A3?
So this would be 8-3, is it?
A2.
8-2.
Yeah, that's right, we only have.
What this shows basically is the layout for the first floor plan. The entire project has 16 units, roughly 2 one-bedrooms, with roughly 750 square foot each. We have a 12 two-bedroom ranging from between 940 to 1,200 square feet each unit, and then we have 2 units of 3-bedroom, which are roughly 1,500 square feet. In the previous project that we had 19 units, so we cut down by 3 units. Okay, first floor will have a 1-bedroom, 1 unit, 1-bedroom, 6 2-bedroom units, and 1 3-bedroom unit. And as was discussed before, we have a 24 parking spaces in the garage on the lower level. The South Avenue elevation is a 2-story elevation, where when we go to South Avenue, we have a 3-story because we have a full floor of the entrance to the garage and the garage parking space. As far as the heights, we are complying with the height. The requirement is for first floor to be 12 feet high, and we have it on South Avenue. Our South Avenue first floor is 12 feet, the second floor is 10 feet. When we go around the corner, we have the first floor is the garage, which we have 12 feet from floor to floor, and then we have a second floor 12 feet because the second floor becomes first floor on South Avenue, and then the second floor on South Avenue is the third floor on South Avenue, which is 10 feet high. The maximum height is 40 feet to the top of the roof, and we are way under. We are at 35 feet, where 40 feet is maximum, except for the entering tower, which was one of the requirements, guidelines by the MCCE, which maximum is allowed 45 feet. We are at 39.58, which basically towers 5. It's an entry tower as we're splitting up South Avenue, South Avenue. That's as you're driving by, you won't see that entry tower. Okay, as discussed before, we're required to have affordable housing, and we're required to have 15, which is 15%. Out of 16 units, it's 2.4 units. We're actually proposing 3 units, which is actually a little bit higher because it's 18.75%. We are providing 2 2-bedroom units and 1 3-bedroom unit. All 3 of them on the first floor will be affordable units. So we are compliant with that. Also on the first floor, we have 2 lobbies, 2 entrances. One of them has elevator, one of them has basically a little sitting area, and they're all interconnected with the interior hallway together. Okay, and we have 2 staircases, 1 by each lobby. The building has a mansard roof, and then on top beyond it, we have a flat roof, and that's where we're proposing to put the generator. And we're proposing to put all the condensing unit, HVAC units. So we have, can we go to the roof plan? Can you show?
That'd be A3 now?
This would be A3.
Yes.
So with these outside, that would be the perimeter of the building. Then we have the mansard roof, which is basically 12 feet deep, and then we'll have a flat section of the roof.
Oh, so we don't have A3.
No, this is one of the, this is A3.
It was one of the requests that we provided from roof
Okay,
plans.
yeah, I saw that in
Yeah.
there.
So the mansard roof is 12 feet deep, then we have a flat roof, and then we go 10 feet farther, and then we will have a
we have a 5-foot tall screen, and then behind it, we will have 17 units, 16 for one of the units and one for common area of the condensing unit. And also we will have a transformer in the back. By then being so far back and a flat roof, you would, if you are across the street, you will not see it, because if you go to the front elevation, I mean, we're showing elevation as a bird's eye view. When we're coming back on the street, by basically looking up the roof, this is so far back that you will not even see when you are across the street. Okay, this is a perfect spot. It's away from everybody. It's out in the open, and it works very well for this. There was also discussion about the trash, and maybe we can go to the basement.
Is it basement on this thing?
So the trash area is located right up on the north side of the building. It has a double separate entrance by a gate. And there will be, right now we're showing 32 garbage cans. There will be a recyclable and there will be general trash. And the way I understand it from the builder, there will be a private pickup. The recycle will be coming once a week, once every other week, depends on the need. And then regular trash would come in either once a week, twice a week. Where the private pickup would come in, you would pick up the cans, bring them in, dump them, and bring them back into the enclosure. So there will be no garbage cans on the street. There will be somebody will not be putting them at 6 in the morning and then waiting for pickup. It's a private pickup, so we'll be very coordinated. Okay, we don't want the cans all over the street.
So they're gonna go into the,
Yes, they will basically pick up the garbage from inside, bring it in, empty it, and bring it back in. So it's very controlled. Okay, that enclosure right there, we have a dimensions of 39 feet by 22 feet by 11 feet area. Also, there was a discussion about the transformer. The way I understand it from the developer, he already had an initial meeting with PCNG. And basically the representative or the engineer from PCNG came in, looked at it, he kind of surveyed, and he said, listen, the best situation would be we will have to put a pole on his property, but the transformer would be on a pole. You would not need to have a platform. So we would have either on that pole or across the street, there would be a transformer, and that would be adequate enough for 800 amps need of electricity for this. That's the engineer's initial assessment. That's all we can tell, because there is nothing else beyond this range. Okay?
And this is also a new exhibit, so we make that A4.
Yes, this is, we'll make that A4.
sure thing. What are we calling it?
A4.
Do I mean, what?
Oh,
Sorry.
This is basically parking.
Thank you.
There was also discussion about security, so the way the developer is planning to, there will be security cameras. Each lobby will have it, the hallways will have it, all the public areas will have it, and then every single entrance to the building will have a security cameras on.
Excuse me, Steve, is that not the same as A3?
There were some slightly changes on that. That's why we have revisions on this exhibit, and you have no revisions on my drawing.
And these were made in response to the letters that we received from the professionals.
So does A4 supersede A3?
A4 is the exhibit for this meeting where originally that drawing was A3 drawing.
And we'll submit, we'll supply copies of all of these sets to you.
So as I stated before, by the entrance between South Avenue and South Avenue, we have that tower, which was one of the recommendations for CCE guidelines. And that tower will be visible as you're coming in down the street, and then you would see the beginning of the developer will have a nice tower. Okay, and that would be 5 feet higher than the rest of the building. As far as the materials and looks, again, we were working tightly with the guidelines and recommendation for CCE zone, which is basically residential look, the suburban feel of the building, where we have plenty of peaks, it's not a boring, if you can put on the front elevation, or maybe rendering, yes.
A5.
That would be A5. As the elevation show, it's not a boring front elevation. It has plenty of peaks, and then there's plenty of vertical and horizontal lines. And again, the requirements of CCE was that any kind of pitch roof or mansard roof would have some dormers. So we even put a dormers in the areas. There is no living space in the attic, so this is just a decorative dormers. Okay. We have plenty of architectural details. Plenty of vertical and horizontal lines. And again, we have the base, we have the main body, and then we have the roof, as CCE kind of guides us to. Okay. The colors that we're proposing is basically dark shingled roof. The body, which is the elevation, would be basically cement board, horizontal and vertical lines with white or very light gray colors. Okay. Black windows and doors, black railing on the ramps in the front, because the front on South Avenue elevation has the entrance, and basically the ramp splits in half and supports the two entrances to the main building. Okay, and then we have the bottom will be a brick veneer tile. So and that would be more of a charcoal color, so it would be more of a darker base. Okay, and then we have also.
Could you just repeat that again, the base?
The base would be brick veneer tile in charcoal. And then we have a couple of places where we put a dark metal roof just to play around with different things. The main entrances are right off South Avenue, and we have a little canopy overlooking that, covering the main entrance. There is also a requirement for glass and transparency requirement. The requirement is to have the front vertical elevation to have 30% of glass. We actually have on South Avenue, we have 40.51%, and on Old South Avenue, we have 34.92% of glass. So we are complying with that also. We're not seeking any kind of variances. Everything is complying. Every aspect of the building is complies with the requirements even and the guidelines of CCE. Also, one of the guidelines was that we were supposed to have some kind of a balconies. In the previous design, we only have the Juliet balconies, but these are requirements state that we have to have at least 60 deep, 6 by 5 minimum balconies. We actually have one balcony, 12 by 6, 10.5 by 6, 11 by 9. So we have 3 balconies on the first floor and three balconies on the second floor. And this is as per guidelines for CCE zone.
I think that describes the architectural, and again, this reflects when we're at the October hearing, we're seeking variances for glazing and building height, not the total height, but
Floor to floor
height. So I have no further questions at this time of Mr. Poker.
Yeah, I guess, all right. Thank you for your testimony. Going back to the roof and the HVAC units and generator that is there on the roof, there is a requirement in the ordinance for setbacks of that equipment on the roof. And that's, they shall be set back from the roof edge at least 1 foot for each 1 foot of height. Will you be compliant with that?
We'll be complying with that, because again, the Manson roof, you can go back on this, this is 12 feet,
Yeah.
and we have to be 12 feet away, so we basically 10 feet to the screen, and then going up back beyond that, we have another 2 feet.
So what is that total? Is that total the,
Well, we have 12 feet.
but the requirement is 1 foot for
1
each
foot.
foot of height, of building height?
Right, so if this is 12 feet, we have to be 12 feet away there, we will be complying with that.
But I think the requirement intent,
I'm digesting it, go ahead.
isn't it, to me, I interpret it as a setback needs to be 1 foot for each foot of
So that means
building
about
height,
45 degrees far away from the edge of the building, 1.
and not 45 feet of building height.
Right, what I'm saying is if I'm here, it's again height of the equipment, not height of the building.
Right, and the height of the equipment is
It's there
four,
are 3 units.
4 feet?
Between 3.5 each.
And then the height of the screening is 5 feet, right?
5 feet, correct.
I see it as a compromise.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
No problem.
And
Just making sure you cross it.
if we're standing on South Avenue again, tell us what a pedestrian would see, if anything.
Well, if you can go
If you
to
can
side
clarify.
elevation. If you're looking at the side elevation, let's say even here, by staying way across, you would see this edge of the roof and this edge of the roof, and we would see way beyond that screen.
And if I were across the street?
Across the street, yes. Because it's so far away from the edge of the roof, and it's in the center of the building, so you're staying far away, you see the angle of the roof, and then you see it beyond that.
And you confirm no living or habitable space
There
within
is
that
no
dormer
habitable
area?
space in there, no habitable in the attic, no, those are decorative dormers.
Okay, now for the trash enclosure area, what is the material of that gate that's opening up?
That would be, it's a screen, but it's open gate, so we have little.
What are the materials of it and the color?
The color would be very, very comparable with the base, which is basically darker charcoal oak, to follow up the base of the building.
So it'll be a,
Because this is basically the trash enclosure.
yeah, so it'll be a complementary
A
color to
very
the building.
complementary color to the base of the building, which is the dark charcoal tiles.
And the material, what are we looking at, like a wood or
No, we're
vinyl?
talking about metal.
Metal, like a metal gate that would complement the building?
Correct.
What are the new changes on the brick with that's bubbled?
On the brick where we did basically, the parking area at one point didn't have any windows, didn't have any opening. We felt that we needed some natural light. So we provided a couple openings, and again, that would be enclosed with some kind of a metal grate on it, okay? But we felt that there should be some natural light, so we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1 in the bicycle area, so we have some natural light coming.
Is that reflected in the renderings, that we can see what that looks like a little bit better?
I'm not sure if we have it from that area there. It's basically this, it's reflected here on my elevation. That would be basically, that would be an opening in the wall with some kind of a protective metal.
Could we get that in a colored rendering, or see, get a better visualization of that? No?
Yeah, we don't have that view from the area.
Is that something that you could add in?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Now, looking at the rendering again, I don't know if nobody can see it. I did notice there's bollard lighting on the side, along the sidewalk. Is that right? Am I seeing that correctly? Yeah. Now, is that proposed?
No, the lighting will be proposed as per engineer drawing.
And,
I'm not sure why the rendering has that.
and what do we think engineering wise? Is that follow lighting going to be proposed, or this is just the
The ones over the entrance?
well, the ones lined up along the sidewalk in the front?
I mean, if the town wants like additional lighting around the sidewalk, that's not too intrusive, I think that might be a way to go.
So if the board desired follow lighting along the frontage type of, okay. All right, so not proposed, but could do.
It's a possibility for the town.
And then we could probably reduce the amount of lighting off the building, right? And
Correct.
just focus right
Correct,
on the
focus on the
sidewalk.
sidewalk, keep it low to the ground.
And the building lighting was 5 or 6 units, right?
The signage of the building, I saw you added that, right? That
We
the
added that
construction
on the,
detail of that.
on the front elevation, you don't have this back. The only signage on the building, we will have basically the street number at the entrance.
Okay.
And I even have the details basically saying that the letter would be basically, all 3 letters would be 2 feet by 1 feet.
Okay. Now, can you walk the board through how a resident is going to take out their trash? Because I did realize on the floor plan that there's a gym on the 2nd floor, and this, one of the staircases, you need to walk through the gym.
Well, we proposing also, this was one of the slide revision, we proposing glass enclosure with the door, so we're separating the gym from the hallway.
Okay.
Going into the staircase, going down, and then trying going onto the trash.
So resident, they'll walk out of their unit with their trash?
With the truck, they don't have to go between the equipment, because the equipment would be in the gym section.
Okay.
I'm sorry, are you on the first floor or the second floor?
Second floor.
So just, I just wanna follow.
And this is one of the, this is one of the items that was slightly changed. It shows in this one.
So they'll take their trash out of their unit, walk down the stairs,
You
and
go
down the
stairs,
elevator?
down- Well, you go down the stairs,
Yeah.
and then come out and bring the garbage.
Okay, so that's just, that like
This
staircase
is that
sort of-
staircase that I showed you.
Okay, understood.
Is that different? All right, so we got that would be A6, right?
This would be A6, but first, page A2 of 3, which is the second floor plan, will make it A6.
Can you just repeat that, because I just think, just repeat what you just said about.
So
How to take the garbage?
taking the garbage out, let's say you're on the second floor.
Yes.
You go out, you go to the hallway, you walk right by the gym, where gym we're proposing to be separated by some kind of a glass enclosure.
Okay.
Come down the stairs, go down, all the way down to the garage. You come out and you go out through the door and you bring that into the garbage enclosure.
Then would it be on the first floor?
You basically don't, you go to the first floor. You go to the first floor, and again, you go into the staircase, you go 1 flight of stairs to that door and to the garbage enclosure.
Oh, they don't, yes, to the stairs. So each of the residents will have to open the gate?
Each of the, yes.
Okay.
Will that be locked or secured?
There would be secure, but there would be no lock and would be accessible to the tenant.
Okay. And then the private hauler comes in and takes out the trash?
Opens up, hallways, goes in, takes out, this is how the line
And is that garbage truck is gonna be parked temporarily along Old South Ave?
as close as possible to the gate. on the
The grinding of the garbage truck, it's all up to 5:30.
What time,
And again, this is a private hauler, so there will be coordinated, so it's least intrusive on everybody.
okay, do we wanna put an earliest time of trash pickup as a condition?
Yes.
You don't want to interfere
Well,
with
that
the
too, the fourth hour.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine to kind of ballpark the hours.
I think that covers it. I mean, on architecture, you seem, it's my interpretation that you comply with the architectural standards of the ordinance.
Thank you.
I do, Mr. Chairman, I have some affordable housing questions, but I think we'll save that for the planner,
Yes.
right? So that covers questions of the witness. Thank you.
Size of units, can you tell us
The sizes of
the
units.
slide from smallest unit to largest?
One bedroom, we have 2 units, each one is 750 square feet. 2 bedroom, we have one that it's 940 square feet, but then we also have 1,087, 1,050, 1,059, and 1,238. So they're well over 1,000 square feet.
And
And the
the three bedrooms?
3 bedroom, we have 2 units, and each one is 1,581 square feet.
749 is the smallest, one bedroom.
750 is it's a 1 bedroom.
One bed.
750.
And the requirement is 600.
Yeah, we were complying with the size.
One important thing I forgot. How is this building going to impact the adjacent property in shadowing?
Yeah. There is no impact at all. I mean, on this side, we only 2 stories with 9 foot. Unless unless the sun is so low that it's, they will never. And we also have, on that one side, we have the neighbors, and we have a 10% setback.
And there's another setback from.
And there's another, right,
From that.
because we have, at that setback, we have that 6%.
Okay. So you don't see any shadowing impact on that property?
And there will be no sharing across the street. That's the point.
Okay.
Can you show us where all the balconies are located?
Be on the first floor.
Yeah, just in a plan view, do you have, is there a plan that shows?
There is a balcony right here, there is a balcony here, and a balcony there. On the first floor, and there is a balcony on the second directly above.
Is there a site plan maybe we could see, just to see where it is in relation with the road?
So there is a balcony.
Okay,
There is a balcony here and balcony there.
okay, and that's.
That's the first floor and the second floor directly above.
So
They're right over
balconies are
each
on
other.
top of each
Yes.
other. Then, could you tell us the height of the basement?
The basement floor, because it's required to be 12 feet high, floor to floor, because that's how you.
What about the floor to ceiling?
Floor to ceiling roughly would be around 10 feet, because I'm allowing 1.5, 2 feet for structure.
120 inches for clearance?
120 inches, yes, we will have 10 feet clearance roughly on the garage.
Okay, so it'll be ADA accessible for.
It will be ADA, it will also be accessible for
For
a
a smaller moving truck?
first aid, any kind of,
Ambulance?
because they need 8-foot signage.
Okay. And maybe a smaller moving truck?
Smaller, definitely smaller moving truck would work. I mean, not,
Not a
one.
U-Haul, but.
Correct. And also small deliveries. I mean, it's we're talking about huge Amazon trucks that would be the thing, but the smaller one can go in there.
So that's kind of like what I'm getting at, is perhaps it makes sense to have some kind of loading area, or,
I mean, we
Just
have
to
a
get some-
24-foot aisle, there is, coming in, and thing is, I mean, I wouldn't want the truck parked there for a long time, but again, they're very fast, they go in and out, go drop the box and go back and leave.
Right. Then you mentioned the generator's gonna be on the roof.
Generator's gonna be on the roof, and that's gonna be gas generator, and that's only for emergency.
Gas, did you talk to the town gas for availability of pressure?
I don't think Not yet, we didn't start that
Okay,
yet.
might need to size it, you're gonna need to size it properly,
Correct.
once you start going up against.
Correct, it's the distance and the pressure.
And then you mentioned, as of this moment, that, PSCG mentioned pole mounted transformer, so that's.
Correct.
Security cameras, the police made a comment about, and this is more of an order question, if they need access to your cameras for security,
Right, I'm sure that would be okay.
and those are my comments.
Wait,
What about a Knox box for fire?
Oh, that's,
That will be, we will comply with all the knock box, I mean, we'll comply with everything,
okay.
as far as the fire department is concerned.
Anything else, Justin?
Nothing else.
All right. So at this point in the evening, I think we are going to stop before we have board questions. Resume at this point with this application. So once we come back, we discuss it in the 18th, we'll resume starting off with board questions and public and we'll do this evening.
This application will be adjourned without notice, any further notice to June 18th.
June 18th, no further notice, 7 o'clock here.
7 o'clock here.
And we'll stipulate then a corporate extension time.
I would hope so.
Any comments?
No, I just, I would say, thank
I'm
you.
not gonna mail out another notice to people? You just have to word them out, or?
The first notification was illegal, so we gotta rectify that.
Leaving, thank you very much for your.
On the record, the governing body adjourned the meeting without allowing public comments.
This part